Ultra Doom.
Here's a step-by-step guide to becoming a fossil. Step 1. Die.
May your new year be filled with 365 days of never-ending joy in 2024.
You need to take some of your own advice. Aren't you the man who told me to live every week like it's Shark Week, and that nothing's impossible except for dinosaurs? Don't give up on life, sir.
Wow.
Happy New Year's Eve, Dinos.
Turdoon.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Paleontologizing, and, Happy New Year's.
Turdoon.
I'm glad you're here. Sorry I'm later than I was hoping to be today. But man, did I have a busy day. Holy cow. Barely made it here. Well, yeah. If anybody's here for the very first time, which at least a few people surely are, welcome to Paleontologizing, and let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. You probably know already that a paleontologist is a fossil scientist. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular, hence dinosaur paleontologist. And we're going to be talking about dinosaurs today. We're going to be talking about kind of the general public's first real introduction to dinosaurs, at least in the UK, which is where dinosaur science started, in England. We're going to be talking about the Crystal Palace dinosaurs of Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. And we're going to be talking about the famous New Year's Eve dinner in the Iguanodon. And holy cow, Haraz, look at this beautiful bird. I'm here to announce the gifting of 10 gift subs by the very generous Haraz. I appreciate that very much, Haraz. Thank you. Thank you. Holy cow. Uh-oh. Oh, not again. Might want to take cover here.
Harsh is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Haraz, holy cow. Thank you for that. And thank you, Miss Yvette.
Happy New Year, Danny. Love your dino streams. Hope you have a howly makahiki hoo.
I really appreciate that, Miss Yvette. I don't even know how to say Happy New Year in Hawaiian, but that's gotta be it, huh? Thank you for the 300 bits. And 10 more subs from Blake the Snake. Thank you kindly. Holy cow, Blake. And look at this very enthusiastic... Uh-oh. Oh no. Not again.
Blake the Snake is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Holy cow, Blake. Thank you for that. That's 20 gift subs. We're halfway to our goal for today. Already. At the beginning of the stream. That is extraordinary, and I really appreciate it. CS Reaction, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Thanks for clicking that follow button. Welcome to the last stream of 2023 here on Paleontologizing. Dex says, I had no idea the British invented dinosaurs. Very funny, Dex Vandermark. But the word dinosaur was coined by a British scientist. English scientist. Richard Owen. So yeah, Blake the Snake, what a paleo champion. Indeed, Blake the Snake and Haraz. They're with 10 gift subs each. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. Really amazing. And there's another 10 there from Jaco. Holy cow, Jaco. I really appreciate that. We're 3/4 the way to our sub goal already. Holy cow. Oh, shoot.
Turdoon.
Jaco 5000 is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Thank you, Jaco. That's 30 people now. 30 chatters won't have to worry about any ads, not just for the rest of this year, but through the beginning of 2024 as well. Thank you, Jaco. Thank you, Blake the Snake. Thank you, Haraz. Holy cow. Extraordinary. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And Jaco says duck. Actually, it was a tinamou. They're not closely related to ducks, but, thank you so much, Jaco. I really appreciate you. Good stuff. Technically a 2-year sub. I know, right, Indo? Isn't that amazing? Yeah. In the case, we just passed 12. Well, excellent. Kudos, Budo. Excellent. Well, holy cow. we're going to be talking about the UK and how dinosaur science was born out of the UK in the early 1800s, early to mid 1800s. Yeah. Does New Year's mean much to you, Danny? It often does, Attractive Cactus, and I would have liked to have made a bigger deal out of today's stream, bigger than we're going to make out of it, but I was extraordinarily busy today. I woke up at 5 this morning, ran over to my old apartment, had to get the last of my things out of there, get everything cleaned, and then be able to do a walkthrough with the realtor, and then with my landlord on a WhatsApp call, video call, and but yeah, looks like I'm gonna get my security deposit back. Really excited about that, and I'm done. Fully moved in. All my stuff is here. I still have to unpack a lot of it. But yeah, how exciting is that? New year, new place. Pretty exciting. So yeah. So I just got back here to my new home, what, like an hour ago? 2 hours ago? 2 hours ago. Ate lunch, cleaned some stuff up, and then got ready for today's stream. So, anyway. Yeah, I didn't do as much preparation as I would have liked for a special day like today, but we'll have to do a big blowout for next New Year's.
Really, Snake Tank, it's spared no
And
expense.
thank you, Ms. Yvette.
1998 gifted a
I
tier
appreciate that, Ms. Yvette, for that gift sub. Look, we're at 31 out of 40 now. Holy cow. That's excellent. Yeah. And Dex Phantom Hug, yes. I don't know if I've ever actually gotten a security deposit back from a landlord. So this, yeah, it'd be a good way to start the new year. And Paleo Stream, how are you doing? Welcome back. It's good to have you here, Paleo Stream. Holy cow. Have you seen the new office, by the way? Joshua, it's great to have you here. Happy New Year's to you. It is already 2024 in Germany. I hope your 2024 is off to a good start, Joshua. I really do. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Crystal Palace dinosaurs today in the famous dinner in the Iguanodon. So yeah. If any of you are not yet following Paleo Stream, holy cow, are you missing out. A real-life paleo artist, Joshua Knupe. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I try to get it right. But anyway, yeah, Paleo Stream. If you would like to see a published paleo artist do work live on Twitch, go follow Paleo Stream right now. Paleo Stream is in it for the love of the game and the love of the art and the science. Not to make money here on Twitch. His channel's not actually monetized. So no emotes or anything like that, but always a fun time. If you would like to interact with a paleo artist live on stream, go give him a follow. Yeah. And good enough, I appreciate that, Joshua. Yeah. Anyway, imagine some crazy dinosaur fan 3D printing a Crystal Palace dinosaur to have dinner in. I've got my Crystal Palace Iguanodon here. Where did I put the... Oh, I'm running over ginkgo leaves with the wheels on my chair. That's not good. Here, hang on a sec.
Happy New Year from the UK Dinosaurs.
I appreciate that, the Raven.
Hard as rock.
And Blake the
Odds
Snake.
happening are so slim they are impossible to calculate. But then on top of that, to actually find the fossil makes the world of the dinosaur hunter the world of the long shot.
Figured I should subscribe too now that my financial situation has gotten better.
Very nice.
Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year's to you too, Blake the Snake. Holy moly. Thank you for that
Brief moment.
support
We
there.
alone
And
are
congrats
the only species
on finances
that
getting
end
better.
And appreciate the great dinosaurs.
And Izzy Black, 18 months from Izzy. Holy cow. I appreciate that very much, Izzy. Yeah. And congrats, Blake, on finances getting better. I I'm looking forward to mine getting a bit better too. Now that my rent has gone down a little bit, now that I moved. And, well, shoot, we are on track for Partner Plus, too, which I am very excited about. And there you go. Thank you, Lenina, for pulling up that command. Yes. Our goal was 350. That's the threshold for this month. We're currently sitting at 467. Which is extraordinary. So it looks like I get a new rev split, an increase of like 40%. I'm going to be able to pay like a small stipend, an honorarium to other paleontologists to come onto this stream for interviews. So look forward to that in 2024. It's going to be great. Yeah. And Happy New Year from London. Well, Cosmic Seekin, you know what is just outside of London? The Crystal Palace dinosaurs. Like, this is the standing Iguanodon right there. We're going to be talking about these guys. It was New Year's Eve, 1853, which I guess was New Year's 1854, that the famous dinner in the Iguanodon was held in this Iguanodon, or maybe in a mold of it. We're still not 100% sure exactly what that detail was, but anyway, we're discussing that today. So, I could even just put this here, couldn't I? Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. And you've been there a few times. Excellent. Yeah. I stick with year. Well, I wish you another year, Krautland. So year, everybody. There you go. Krautland, appreciate you. Yeah. And if you need someone to talk about paleo art, you know where to find me. Always happy to help. You're one of the first people I'm going to ask, Joshua. So yeah, as long as the timing works out. Time zones.
In fact, in a world full of changing environments and occasional catastrophe, all species eventually
Happy New
become
Year
extinct.
all.
Yeah.
Happy salute.
Red Bulwark, thank you for preventing my own extinction through your support for the past 7 months. I appreciate that, Red Bulwark. I really do. I really, really do. Yeah. You fear it might come true? You might have another year, Krautland? I hope you do. I hope it's a good one. And you've been to Crystal Palace Park once? I've never been, Paleostream, but I really, really want to go. Holy cow. Yeah. I have, I just recently came into possession of a book on the subject. Which I put right here. There we go. By paleo artist and paleontologist Mark Whitten. The Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. The art and science of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. We'll be taking a look at this as well today. In fact, let's break out the desk camera and take a look right now. There's the standing Iguanodon. Oh, does that look familiar to anybody? And, man, I should have painted mine up to look like this, but I didn't have enough time. But yeah, Indo says, it amazes me it's still standing. Well, parts of it weren't. And holy cow, we interrupt this book viewing for a special announcement. Let's listen in. It sounds like 10 gift subs from Sculpin. And it sounds like that might be overloading the alert system here.
Sculpin01 is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Holy cow, Sculpin. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Sculpin, holy cow. Yeah, fantastic. Look, we have made our sub goal. Look right there. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sculpin. Holy cow. Drunk subs? Well, whatever subs, I appreciate them no matter their sobriety, Sculpin, or lack thereof. Thank you so much. And this is a wonderful start to the new year, or a good way to wrap up this year, rather. It's still 4:43 p.m. here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Let's take a look at the view from the Lawrence Hall of Science up in the Berkeley Hills. And yep, the sun is just about to go down. And a lovely clear day. We got some rain this morning, so it cleared a lot of the smog out of the air. But, yeah, you can see the Golden Gate Bridge there in the distance. Here is San Francisco Bay. And there is San Francisco. You can barely see the skyline there in the distance. And then this is Berkeley, where the University of California Museum of Paleontology is. Where I got my start as a paleontologist. So yeah, sun is going down. The last sunset of the year. And gotta go out this year with a bang, and I appreciate that, Izzy. Yeah. Good stuff. And Trek Nerd. Oh no, sorry, Pan X01, thank you for the follow, Pan. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. What is this clear, says Trek Nerd? Well, I mean, it's a little bit hazy and foggy, but you can at least see the bridge, which is nice. There's not a lot of smog in the air today. That's what AM rains will do, you know? Gotta love it. Yeah. And Fish Geek says I'm not ready to be 30 tomorrow, but I'm glad I got this stream. Fish Geek, happy early birthday to you. Holy cow. Happy early birthday to you, Fish Geek. January 1st is your birthday? That's pretty cool. Or maybe it's the 2nd. But that's kind of neat because you always know exactly how old you were in a given year when you look back. Aww. Look at those chickens.
Light skin tone paleo beak.
Crate Fruit, thank you for the 6 months of support. Thank you kindly. Shoot. Thanks for keeping me here on the air. Well, these are the Crystal Palace Park dinosaurs as they appear in the present day. Built way back in 1853 and 1854 by Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. They are a really important site. We'll be talking about why. Yeah. Let's see. You're wiser but still young? Thank you, Red Bull. Are those song lyrics? Or are you just saying profound things in the chat? I appreciate you. Yeah. And a stream today? Yes, indeed, Anakin Gabriel. Said I was going to for New Year's. So yeah, Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's. Good stuff. Let's take a look at a quick video here. What is this? I've never seen this one before. Let's have a gander. Okay. Does this guy always wear a pith helmet like that?
Do you like dinosaurs? Me too. Journey with me to the land of the dinosaurs, the legendary plains of Crystal Palace.
Oh, I thought he was going to say
the dinosaurs'
London.
remarkable survival begins way back in the very mists of time. The year of...
This is a little goofy.
Exhibition.
Yeah.
Party the world has ever seen.
An international celebration of technology, achievement, and discovery.
That's creepy. Is this like an AI thing?
Blessed thing.
Crystal Palace in Hyde Park, perhaps? This iron and glass wonder was so popular, it was moved to a brand new, permanent home in South London.
Until it burned down.
But oh no, an unexplained cloakroom explosion unleashed disaster.
Yeah.
This is the end of an age.
It's really unsettling. Making photographs talk like that is...
Nothing remains of the Crystal Palace except ruins.
Okay, but let's get to... There we go. The sculptures. Now, was he actually there? Because it... No, they aren't actually arranged like that.
Now trekking through Crystal Palace Park, we've reached the object of our quest, Dinosaur Court. A prehistoric ecosystem landscaped into the Victorian pleasure grounds.
I don't think it was called Dinosaur Court. I think it was called the... Wasn't it? Oh, shoot, what was it? What was the actual term that they used for that? It wasn't the Dinosaur Court, it was the Geologic Court, wasn't it? Anyway.
Of Iguanodon.
Geological Court. Thank you, Paleostream. Yeah. Yeah.
Created, built by Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins in 1854 to accompany the Crystal Palace.
It is a little goofy. I'm going to give you the link to this one, but we're not going to start off like this. There we go. Let's go back to an old documentary that I think you'll enjoy. We've watched before on this stream, but it'll take us up to Crystal Palace times. But we're going to start off with a non-dinosaur, I think. I think we're going to talk about Mosasaurus first. But let's take a look at this, and it's going to be a nice kind of springboard for discussion about these things. Again, I wish I had had more time to prepare stuff for this stream, but man, has it been a crazy busy day. But welcome back, Lenina. It's good to have you here. Holy cow, Lenina. And Smorphosaurus. One shaking. Good to have you back too, Smurf. And Alexander Morrison. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah.
The following presentation is from PBS Home Video.
Lovely. And MJD says, I told my mom I watched this stream, so she gave me an ammonite the size of my hand for Christmas. Holy cow, MJD. She definitely wants me to keep watching. Still don't know exactly what kind of ammonite it is, but sure looks cool. Very neat, MJD. Well, shoot. I wish I knew of a good online resource for identifying ammonites. But, shoot, usually if I have an ammonite I want to identify, I just show it to a colleague. You know, Jim Kirkland would be able to tell you what kind it is, probably. Or at least from what stage in the Mesozoic. But, yeah. Awesome. We should do a stream about ammonites one of these days. Maybe we'll ask Jim about ammonites during one of our many interviews this next year. Oh, man, I'm excited to start those. But, yeah. There. All right. Do we not have closed captions for this one? Drat. Shoot, this is a really nice copy of this, but like the video and audio are really good, but let's try... Oh, this one's got no closed captions either. Let's try this one. Ah, shoot. Not there either. Well, I'm not sure if we're going to have a closed captioned version, which is unfortunate. Let's just continue with this one, shall we?
Years.
That's okay. We won't be watching this for too long.
Earth shakers and plunderers. Killing machines. The original experts in martial arts.
And contortion, apparently. What is wrong with this poor stegosaur? Its hind legs. Just, oh boy. That does not look comfortable. I guess it's like, well, if we can't make them sprawl, then it will at least give them a really goofy posture like they're doing the splits or something, you know? Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
For 160 million years.
Oh, and thank you, Smurf. Okay, let's check my email.
And then, in a flash of geologic time, they died out.
Yeah, and isn't this great, Nendo?
Vanished. Forgotten. A buried menagerie of skeleton beasts, lying in wait just below the skin of the earth. This is the story of how dinosaurs came back to life, and of the men and women who have devoted themselves to reviving them. Amateur bone hunters, professional paleontologists, artists. It has meant grueling work in the broiling sun, high adventure, much hands-on labor, and more than a little luck.
Ministry of Silly Walks. There you go, Steely Dan.
With the pieces of the puzzle being stitched together by means of
just a little intro here.
Science.
We're going to get into the beginnings of vertebrate paleontology in just a little bit.
It's the story of dedicated fossil finders who spend long days chipping away dirt inch by gravelly inch so that the monster can finally be raised from its rocky tomb. And there still remains a shroud over the greatest mystery of all. Why have all the dinosaurs vanished?
That's not a pelican noise. Dinosaurs. Good stuff. Good animations, right, Fedorasaur? There you go, Lenina, yeah. Foreshadowing.
Is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Thank you, viewers.
The story of dinosaurs in modern times begins in the 18th century in Holland, the city of Maastricht.
And that could almost be misleading. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt. We'll give the writer the benefit of the doubt, rather. But, yeah, it's not a dinosaur they're about to show being dug up here. It's a mosasaur, an ancient seagoing lizard. But, yeah. Just wanted to point that out right off the bat.
Begins in the 18th century in Holland, the city of Maastricht. Once 70 million years ago, this was the bottom of a sea, a warm sea.
Fiction is no shame, no sign of disgrace or failure.
It's true, let me caution.
In a world full of changing environments and occasional catastrophe, all species eventually become extinct.
Wish you, Danny, and all the great people a Happy New Year bottle with popping cork from Antwerp, Belgium. I wish all of you who didn't or who won't have a party a warmer and love-filled and extra great 2024.
Thank you, Lemmy Caution, for your wonderful, warm, and kind words, and thank you for the 7 months of support. The 7 months that you've kept me doing this here on Twitch. I really appreciate that. Happy New Year's to you too. And Belgium. Very cool. That's where we might actually see that here in a little bit. But Iguanodon fossils. The world's greatest deposit of Iguanodon fossils is from Dinosaur in Belgium. And you can see those today in Brussels. I think we'll encounter that later on in here. Or we can if you'd like to. Yeah.
And here limestone was formed. For centuries, the people of Maastricht quarried this limestone for buildings, burrowing into the rocks to create a vast warren of caves. It was the year 1770. Quarrymen, working 500 yards from the entrance of one of the caves, unearthed something that made the rest of the crew lay down their tools and gather around in amazement.
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Over the years, they'd often dug up chips of bone, fragments of skeletons, but never anything so mysterious.
So they must have actually had a cast of the Mosasaurus jaws in order to film this scene.
Someone who would pay good money for their discovery, a retired military surgeon called Dr. Hoffman. Hoffman was one of the first in a long line of professional and amateur scientists and bone hunters who have been fascinated by these secrets that the Earth yields up so grudgingly. Hoffman hurried over to the quarry and was shown something he had never seen before. It appeared to be an enormous jawbone.
The reason I'm showing this at the beginning is to try and emphasize that this was a time when nobody knew about dinosaurs, for starters, but also about, you know, other ancient creatures like mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, pterosaurs, mammoths and mastodons, and extinction was not yet really recognized as a real phenomenon. It would be the jaws of this mosasaurus that would help spur that idea. And one of the main proponents of the idea of extinction at the beginning, like the idea that creatures could entirely disappear from the Earth, one of the early proponents of that idea was Georges Cuvier, whom you'll see in a little bit too. Yeah. You know, this is back then they assumed all life was always there. Well, yeah. Or that like, it had been divinely created at the beginning of time, and that, you know, they didn't realize how ancient the Earth was. They really didn't have any way of knowing back then. So they would, like, take the book of Genesis and the Bible completely literally.
If you're
or
feeling
at least
cheated,
mostly
try
literally.
blaming the dinosaurs.
Thank you, Miss
Here's
Yvette.
100 more bits. I hope you find your paleo cup.
Thank you, Miss Yvette. I appreciate that. It's in one of these boxes around here that I haven't unpacked yet. But you'll see it soon, Miss Yvette. Thanks for those 100 bits.
He bought it immediately. "25 years later, the jaw of the monster attracted the attention of the French Revolutionary Army, who occupied Maastricht in 1795. They claimed the jawbone for France, where to this day it reposes in the National Museum of Natural History in Paris."
And Indo, I do actually like watching these older documentaries more than I like watching new ones for the most part, because A, they're usually, you know, kosher to watch. They're not going to encounter copyright issues. But B, they have like a higher budget back then proportionally, and usually better writing. They're often less sensationalistic. But it also gives us an opportunity to talk about how much the science has changed, how much things have advanced since these were first produced. And you know I love talking about that.
Soon after the French Revolution, the National Museum was the scene of another revolution. This one led by a celebrated professional scientist, Georges Cuvier.
Yeah.
Cuvier was professor of comparative anatomy, which was a booming branch of science at that time.
Howdy, howdy.
And it was the very best place in the world for him to be, because I think the museum there probably had a larger collection than anywhere else in the world of skeletons and skins and, to some extent, pickled guts and so on, of a whole range of living species from all around the world.
Yep.
Like the other professors, he lived on the job. He had a house which went with the job, which was in the same grounds
Must
as
be nice.
the museum and the Botanic Gardens. And the Botanic Gardens included, as it still does, a small zoo. So he had access to at least a small collection of living animals, which he could study and see how they moved, how they put their anatomy to good use. So he was in a very good position to understand the relation between bones and muscles and sense organs and gut and everything else within a living creature, and see how all those parts of the body contributed to a whole way of life.
Cuvier had a theory. Huge bones had been found beneath the streets of Paris. They looked like elephant bones, except that they belonged to a creature that was clearly a different species, now called a mastodon.
Yep.
Cuvier reasoned that these bones belonged to an animal that had become extinct.
And it was really the first time that there was a really good, pretty strong case for extinction.
Yep, and the Mosasaurus jaws factor into that too. But we had an interesting comment from Steely Dan there. If extinction was not a known phenomenon, it must have been scary to find something like that and wonder if it might still be alive somewhere. And that was exactly the case, Steely Dan. A lot of people did think that. In fact, that was kind of the default assumption. Let me show you. There, it's 356. There we go. Some of you might remember these from your childhood, if you're very lucky, and also of a similar age to me. 21. Any of you have these when you were younger? Do you remember these? Are you aware of these? I happen to have maybe the entire collection in this book here, which is really cool. And one of the parts that's really fun are these comic strips. Let me show you. Get our camera ready over here. But this one, about Cuvier, is entitled Extinction, a Totally New Idea. And I kind of love this. The art in these isn't the greatest, like the people don't actually look like the people in real life, but these are about like the history of vertebrate paleontology, mostly dinosaurs. But yeah, anyway, this is about Georges Cuvier. It talks about how he's very precocious, survived the French Revolution and everything. And oh, here we go. When he was 15, Georges was sent to university, where his parents wanted him to study to be a priest, but Georges had his own ideas. Yeah, I don't want to be a priest, I want to be a naturalist. I can relate. Eventually, Georges was allowed to study natural history, and in 1787, he was appointed tutor to the son of a wealthy family in northern France. He spent all his spare time looking for fossils. And then the French Revolution, he manages to survive. And then in 1795, when he was 26, he became an assistant professor in Paris, where he astonished everyone with his brilliant lectures. He was so clever that he could often draw a complete skeleton from just one bone, but sometimes he got it wrong. Did he really think Megatherium looked like this? That's great. I don't think so. I think he recognized it as a sloth, didn't he? But yeah, but most of the time, he got it right. Even the King of France was impressed with Cuvier's work. He made him a baron. But here we go. Here's the part I wanted to show you here. Was it Steely Dan talking about this? Yeah, here's Steely Dan. Some scientists thought that these bones, that the unidentified fossilized bones they had found belonged to creatures that were still living in unexplored parts of the world. But Cuvier had his own ideas. This guy says, perhaps it lives somewhere in the jungles of South America. And look at goofy reconstruction there. But Cuvier says, nonsense. This bone belongs to an animal that is no longer with us. It's gone, forever, extinct. And yeah, he had discovered the idea of extinction. This is a huge deal, you know? Like, this ruffled a lot of feathers. There were a lot of people at the time who did not want to accept that creatures could go extinct, because if animals could go extinct, then that implied that God's creation was not perfect. Or maybe he was not perfect if any of his divine creation could cease to be entirely, you know? So, yeah. But Cuvier realized, in part due to those mosasaur jaws, that extinction was really a thing. Yeah. Unlike in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Lost World, exactly, Steely Dan, yeah. But yeah. Let's continue.
Then one day, Cuvier turned his attention to the huge jawbone, the trophy from Maastricht.
And he compared it with living reptiles and concluded this time that it was an enormous marine lizard.
Yep, he was right.
Cuvier had opened the door to a past buried far deeper than anyone had imagined.
Which is pretty wild, that he looked at those jaws and he went, yep, those are a lizard. I mean, these are huge. Other scientists looked at those and went, oh, they're so big they have to be from a crocodile or some kind of whale or something like that, or, you know, and he says, nope, that's a lizard. And he was right. That's how committed to anatomical truth Cuvier was, I suppose you could say. Yeah.
But those claws on the wings are, once again, invaluable.
Amelia Bedelia, thank you for the 22 months of support. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you're a lizard, Harry. There you go, Chinwen, yeah.
He had opened the
Yeah.
door to a past buried far deeper than anyone had imagined.
Good stuff. And we've got some stuff about Mary Anning. And then, oh, here we go. Then, onto the Mantels and Iguanodon. By the way, Mosasaurus is going to show up in our Crystal Palace dinosaur exhibition. Or Crystal Palace Geological Court, I should say, as well. But now, onto Iguanodon. This is really getting into our New Year's Eve story.
And then, in 1822, came the first dinosaur find.
Yep.
Tilgate Forest sucks.
Tone Rebellion. It's like Toner Ebellion? No, Tone Rebellion. Welcome to Paleontologizing. I say these older documentaries are pure magic to me. The one I watched the most when I was young was Lost World's Vanished Lives with David Attenborough. I don't know if I've ever seen that one, but I should check it out. I should see if I can find that anywhere. The old BBC ones can be tricky to find for Americans like me, but I should see if I can find that one. Welcome, Tone Rebellion. It's good to have you here. And Happy New Year's. And Notes from Cartland says, how did early paleontologists know how to preserve bones? They kind of didn't much of the time. Did they simply crumble until they found a solution? And what did they use? Probably not PVA. No, they didn't have polyvinyl acetate glues back then. They would occasionally use shellacs or other kinds of, like, less technical glues. Or they would just get lucky and the stuff would be well preserved enough where it wouldn't fall apart. But a lot of older specimens from around this time have fallen apart. Yeah. Anyway.
Sussex, England. Gideon meant in 1822 came the first dinosaur find.
Yeah.
Tilgate Forest, Sussex, England. Gideon Mantell, a 32-year-old doctor, tells the story in his diary.
Was sent for to Mrs. Morris, who suffers much from the ague. Mrs. Mantell accompanied me.
Love how she looks like she's straight out of the 1980s here. Maybe her hair isn't as big as it could be, but, yeah, I don't know. She really doesn't look like, You'll see the same scene depicted in some other documentaries where she's, like, wearing a bonnet and stuff. Maybe that's a little closer, but I like this 1980s take on, or early 1990s take on Mary Mantell.
Suffers much from the ague. Mrs. Mantell accompanied me. A very pleasant ride, pursuing our way through the windings of the wood. While I was attending to Mrs. Morris, my good wife descended from the chaise to take the air.
So this is a slightly idealized version of the story, but for today's purposes, we're just gonna kind of breeze by it. But when we get to Mary Mantell's birthday, which I believe is in March, April, something like that, we'll probably talk more about this, because the real story is probably a bit more complicated. And Happy New Year, you too, Nan
had
Banana.
left piles of rock from the nearby quarry. Mrs. Mantell, being possessed of a keen eye, for she often assists me in engraving the illustrations to my researches, was taken with something that had been exposed by the quarrymen.
Look at that.
Having applied a plaster to Mrs. Morris, I returned to the chaise and went in search of Mrs. Mantell. I found her much excited and desirous to show what she had found.
You have discovered an animal new to science.
And it happened exactly like that. Maybe pretty close, I don't know.
Tale. But some fiction is mixed in with the facts.
Oh.
Mantell was not the only dinosaur hunter to fall in love with the romance of a time before time. But the tooth itself is no fiction. It sits in the British Museum of Natural History.
Does it? I thought it was sent to New Zealand. There's David Norman there.
Dr. David Norman.
And this is it. This is one of the teeth that Mantell found, and one of the first ones that he described. If you look at the crown surface, you can see these lovely, long, smooth ridges which run down the surface of the crown. And then on the edges of the crown, these little crenellations. This animal was not only large and a reptile, but also a plant eater. And that's an unusual thing. At the time, no giant plant-eating reptiles were known.
Oh, and what is that right there? Let's go back a few frames. Well, well, well. We have a Megalosaurus. That's the same one right here. And an Iguanodon. The Iguanodon right here. These are the models that I have here, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But sculpted by Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. This is what Iguanodon was thought to look like at the time, but I'm jumping the gun. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there. Oh, and Tone Rebellion, I just recently discovered those too. I haven't watched them yet, but good stuff. That's about mammals, isn't it? Velvet Claw. And I did 3D print those, of course, Beats International. You bet. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue, shall we?
Mantell was really encouraged by the discovery of these new teeth, and it really started him looking in earnest at the quarries in the area.
And holy cow, Will 6'2"? Will. Holy cow.
It's the last time I'll play with a dinosaur.
Holy cow, Will. Thank you so much for those 20 gift subs there. Fantastic. I really appreciate that. Something for the new year? Thank you, Will. Holy cow, look. We're at 63 out of 40 gift subs. 40 new subs for our goal. Extraordinary, Will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you for your support of this channel. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for that. Oh, we might watch that song in a little bit,
Happy New Year
too.
from the UK Fireworks Sparkler.
Rylesy, Happy New Year to you too. It's already 2024 there. I stayed up way past midnight. Happy New Year. We're talking about UK dinosaurs and how England was the birthplace of dinosaur paleontology. Excellent. And 25A says time travel. Yes, indeed, 25A. Good to have you here. Holy cow, Will. Thank you so much. There's 20 people in the chat who are also thanking you right now. So thank you for your generosity and your community spirit there, Will. Appreciate you. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. Let's continue.
He discovered a whole variety of bones. He discovered bones like this, which is from the backbone of a very large creature. He also discovered a whole variety of broken limb bones, again, of something very large. Other odd bones.
Let me caution. What is this? Hang on a minute. I really appreciate that. Let me caution. Thank you so much. Wish I could get myself some great and beautiful paleontology books or at least PDFs, but watching you made up for it in a great way. Thank you. Thank you, let me caution. Holy cow. I appreciate that support. I really, really do. Thank you for that donation there and the kind words. That is lovely. It really is. Thank you very, very much. Excellent. Shoot. This kind of generosity. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Like this, which are toe bones. And then, most puzzlingly of all, he found these long pointed bones.
And thank
all
you,
rather like the
Musa. Happy New Year to you too.
His problem now was to really make sense of all these. What sort of an animal did all these bones belong to?
Yeah.
Mantell, consumed by his search, spent hours at the Royal College of Surgeons in London studying specimens. And then one day, someone showed him a stuffed iguana lizard, one of the first to be imported from the West Indies.
The teeth, when Mantell looked at them, were very similar to his mystery animal. They were leaf-shaped, and they had very roughened edges, just like the roughened edges, as you can see in this specimen here.
Thank you, Bryn Lord. Happy New Year to you too.
The conclusion Mantell drew, therefore, was that he had discovered a gigantic herbivorous lizard.
Mantell was still a long way from reconstructing his animal. But then, a jumble of bones was unearthed from a quarry in Maidstone, Kent. Mantell made this sketch of the remains.
A Maidstone specimen.
There you go,
It was discovered in 1834, and it was blasted out of a quarry. You can still see here the blast hole where the thing was actually blown to pieces. It was glued back together, more or less. So what did he do? Well, he looked at this jumble of bones. He could see, for example...
And Little Pink Pony says, wait, that's why it's called Iguanodon? Yes. That's exactly why. The name Iguanodon means iguana tooth, because he thought the teeth looked like those of an iguana.
They were leaf-shaped, and they had very roughened edges, just like the roughened edges, as you can see in this specimen here.
Yep. That's what Iguanodon means. Iguana tooth. I should hasten to add right here that I think this particular animal has been renamed in the past, 20 years. It's been renamed Mantellosaurus. And I think a new holotype has been found for Iguanodon. And anyway, Iguanodontians in Europe they're complicated. But we're just going to call it Iguanodon for the purposes of this stream, because we don't want to overcomplicate things too much. But yeah, this video looks like it's 30 years old or something. 25A, it's from 1992, so 31 years old. Yeah.
So what did he do? Well, he looked at this jumble of bones. He could see, for example, over here, there's a row of vertebrae from the backbone. If you look at the center of the slab, you can see that there are these long brown bones here.
Femurs.
These are evidently leg bones of one sort or another. And yet, up here, there's a scattering of toe bones. So you've clearly got a real jigsaw puzzle. And he was presented with this problem. How did this puzzle actually fit together?
Once again, it was a tooth that gave Mantell the clue he needed.
On the inside of this surface, you can see a series of quite broad ridges running down the surface of the tooth. And then right along this edge, there's some very, very fine ridges. And they're absolutely characteristic of an iguana lizard. By the mid-1830s, Mantell had accumulated enough evidence in the form of teeth, bones, and pieces to be able to attempt what you see here, which is the first ever reconstruction of one of these extinct giant reptiles. If you look very carefully at the diagram, there are one or two interesting features that you can see.
I actually have this framed right here. This is the same one right there, this same illustration of Iguanodon. This is maybe the first skeletal diagram ever drawn of a dinosaur. It's important stuff.
See, in the backbone, there are groups of 4 vertebrae, and they're just like the ones that you can see on the mantelpiece. In addition, on the front of the head,
Feliz Año Nuevo a ti también. Gracias.
This tiny conical spike.
Yeah.
Which to Mantell looked...
And is yours a reproduction or the original? Oh, Dr. Afsan, of course. This is the original right here. So I gotta be real careful with... Oh, it's a reproduction. I printed this today. On the new printer. Yeah. But here it is on the desk camera. There you go. Yeah. Gideon Mantell's illustration of Iguanodon. And that belongs in a museum, so exactly, science streams, yes. Berlin, 100%. Now, this one, I just printed this right before the stream on the new printer.
You're not doing so badly yourself for a paleontologist.
Well, thank you, Vacorda, for those kind words and for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. And Marika says, Happy New Year from Europe. Thank you, Marika. I appreciate that. Happy New Year to you, too. There we go. Yeah, good stuff. And nice Megalosaurus. Thank you. Which one, Marika? You talking about the denery there? Or the Waterhouse Hawkins reconstruction? Yeah. And Happy New Year's to you too, Courtney Raptor. Welcome back. It's good to see you.
There's this tiny conical spike.
Which to Mantell looked much like the...
There are one thing to be able to attempt what you see here, which is the first ever reconstruction of one of these...
Oh, the four-legged one. Nice, Marika. Yeah.
If you look very carefully at the diagram, there are one or two interesting features that you can see. In the backbone, there are groups of 4 vertebrae, and they're just like the ones that you can see on the mantelpiece. In addition, on the front of the head, there's this tiny conical spike.
Which to Mantell looked much like the spike on an iguana lizard.
Very interestingly, he's put the horn on the end of the nose. He then said, this is a giant extinct relative of the living iguana, and therefore he gave it a very appropriate name. He called it Iguanodon, which means literally iguana tooth.
Yep.
The Iguanodon became Mantell's obsession to the exclusion of all else. Marianne Mantell took their only daughter and left him.
I think he had mental health difficulties as well. He may have been manic depressive or bipolar disorder or something like that. Yeah. The story gets complicated with like who actually found what and who actually did which part of the work, because Mary Mantell made some of these initial discoveries. And anyway, we'll talk about that some more on the anniversary of her birth, which I believe somebody can look it up when Mary Mantell was born, but we'll have a special stream for that.
At the end of his life, bankrupt, bereft, sick, Mantell sold his entire collection of bones to the British Museum.
Which is a good thing, because it's still there to this day.
20 years after Mrs. Mantell's discovery in Tilgate Forest, the fossil creatures were finally given a collective name by this man, British paleontologist Sir Richard Owen.
Richard Owen, yep.
Owen was already famous for piecing together a giant extinct bird, a moa, from just one fragment of leg bone.
Dinornis.
In 1841, he wrote a long and learned report.
And at the end, he put in some more speculative remarks.
Delta Rain?
Ontogeny.
Tyrannosaurus, not if we didn't see you first.
Delta, I appreciate you. Are you still in the midst of your train journey right now, Delta? Riding the rails? Appreciate you, Delta. Holy cow. And it was wonderful meeting you in person. Holy moly. It was a pleasure. Happy New Year's to you, Delta. And I hope you had an excellent birthday yesterday, too. Can we get some birthday wishes in the chat for Delta Rain? Oh, you just got home. Well, excellent, Delta. That's good to hear. It's good to hear. And Delta Rain says, thanks for showing me your room. It looks like Rainforest Cafe, and I love it. Is that an honor or a bummer? I consider that an honor. Thank you, Delta Rain. Thank you very much. Thank you for your continued support. 29 months is a long time. Thank you. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I think it's a good thing. I, unironically, I'm not even embarrassed to admit it, I unironically love the Rainforest Cafe. You know? I think it's great. So, it's an honor to hear that from you, Delta. Thank you. Let's continue with our Iguanodon here, shall we?
And among these, he claimed that certain fossil reptiles that had been discovered in the years before this time were quite unlike any living reptile, so much unlike that they deserve to have a major group named for them, and he promptly named them dinosaurs, Dinosauria in the Latin form.
Which means in its English form, terrible lizards. Here they are, as conceived by British sculptor Waterhouse Hawkins.
Yep. I don't know if that's a Hawkins illustration, but there he is. There's the man himself, and... Well, it looks like they reversed this one. And there we go. Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. The man responsible for kind of bringing dinosaurs to the attention of the public. Showing people dinosaurs for the first time. You know?
We've got an amazing 70 million year old dinosaur egg, and they're perfectly preserved. Cool!
Kid. Hegpets, 20 months of support from you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Hegpets. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for keeping me on the air for that long. That's excellent. Yeah. Dribble Ninja says picture of a picture, possibly? Possibly. They may have just reversed it, too. I don't know. But yeah. And thank you, Phoenix. I appreciate that. Happy New Year to you, too. And how accurate were those drawings, Little Pink Pony? These ones? They were very good for the time, based on very, very few fossil bones. They had such scanty material back then.
Blaming the dinosaurs.
They did the best they could. Thank you, Golganak, for those 100 bits. I appreciate that. Yeah, they really did the best that they could back then, but they did not have a lot of material to work on. We'll be talking about that too.
The land of the planet was clumped together in one vast supercontinent.
Win 528.
The dinosaurs soon occupied every corner of that world.
Thank you for the 4 months of support.
Less than 3.
I really appreciate that.
Introduce.
Less than 3 to you too. Win 528. And thank you, Hogan, for those 300 bits. True to you too, Hogan. Good stuff. Yeah. And Marika says, what was the first Mesozoic fossil found? I remember a Mosasaurus, but not sure. Bingo, Marika. That was it. That was at the beginning of this documentary that we just watched before you got here. Yeah, Mosasaurus was
if you're feeling a bit cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
And thank you, Win528, for those 100 bits. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Mosasaurus was. There had been other Mesozoic fossils found earlier by people all over the world, but that was the first one that really came to scientific attention in a big way, I think, was the Mosasaurus jaws from Maastricht in the Netherlands. Yeah. And Saranlin says, what was the Metazoa today? Shoot, I don't know, Saranlin. I haven't done that yet. Let's do that right now. I totally forgot. Yeah. Here, let's do this real quick. If any of you are not familiar with this, it's just a fun little online game. It's kind of like Wordle, the word guessing game, except you've got to guess a mystery animal using the Tree of Life. So
hold on to your butts.
Let's do it. Hopefully this won't take long. So, there's a mystery animal, and we got to find out what it is by guessing any species to begin. And so in order to do that, in honor of Iguanodon, let's just try iguana. What? Holy cow. That's a stupid lucky guess. I'm not familiar with this group, Toxicophora, but this is a proposed clade of squamates. Squamates are lizards. Shoot. It's probably going to be a snake then. Here, let's look this up on our other Tree of Life. Let's look up the iguanas. Yeah. Because you did it a couple hours ago, not the brain? I think it probably resets in Greenwich Mean Time, but I'm not totally sure. Here. Iguanas. But we're going to jump from there to... Do they have this? Nope, they don't. Toxicophora. So we're just going to go out to squamates. Episquamata. A little bit further, Unidentata. Squamata, lizards and snakes. So, but this one's Toxicophora, and includes snakes, Anguimorpha, and Iguania. So it's probably a little bit closer here. Let's just search, let's search rattlesnake. Ooh, okay. If it were, it's not going to be some kind of snake, I guess, because if it were, then it would say Serpentis here, and it doesn't. So what are some other... I could try a skink or something? Like, are agamids part of this group? Shoot, I don't know my lizards well enough. Darn it. try, like, bearded dragon. And they don't have that. Let's try... forest dragon. They don't have that either. Yeah, shoot. So these are all snakes here. Anguimorph lizards. Oh, some monitor lizards are part of this too. Let's try... Komodo dragon, maybe? I guess that's the only... You type in monitor and that's the only one that comes up. Ooh, it's another type of anguimorph, but it's not a Komodo dragon. It's gonna be a member of this clade here. Let's try... It's not gonna be a... Let's try a Gila monster. It's another anguimorph. Yeah! Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So how many guesses did we get this in? 4 guesses. Oh. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. All right. Beautiful. Yeah. Good stuff. There was a movie called The Giant Gila Monster. Wasn't a good movie, but can we find a trailer for it? Yeah, here we go. Uh-oh. Don't hang out in cars, teenagers. You'll be eaten by a giant anguimorph lizard. Or just exploded by one.
This engine's still warm.
Say, did you see the skid marks out here? They go at a direct right angle to the direction of travel.
No digs in the macadam either.
Parking will get you killed exactly 25A.
All over this thing.
And hey, Lordy, how you doing?
Menace that kills everything it sees and hears. No human mind could imagine the enormous destructive power of this maddened, killing thing. If you're young people in love, look out.
A lizard will eat you.
A lonely road. You're as good as dead.
So how your school homecoming dances went? Sounds like fun, Emily.
That doesn't make headlines, but now it's people. Never in the history of the United States, a monster of such size and power and horrifying hatred of man.
Oh, man, that's great. That should be an alert right there. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, speaking of lizards, let's get back to our Victorian Iguanodon and Hylaeosaurus, pictured here, and Megalosaurus.
Here they are, as conceived by British sculptor Waterhouse Hawkins.
And yeah, SV Harkin Kong-like earlier because King Kong, I think, had recently been re-released in the United States in sometime in the 1950s. And it's like they kept re-releasing it, and every time it would be a phenomenon, you know? First came out in 1933. And it might have been, maybe it was 1951 or 1952 or something. But King Kong was like the American monster for, for decades, basically. That movie helped inspire The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which helped inspire, in turn, Godzilla. And then the 1950s giant monster trend really took off after that. And what is this here? What's that sound?
Dinosaur.
You got some sharp ears there, Svartman. Thanks for the follow.
Hawkins heard
No
about it.
shame, no sign of disgrace or failure. In fact, in a world full of changing environments and occasional catastrophe, all species eventually become extinct.
Romulius, thank you for the 7 months of support. Romulius, I appreciate you. Thanks for keeping me here on the air for that long.
Owen's Dinosaurs while he was working on designs for the famous Crystal Palace exhibition in London that had been built to celebrate the brilliant achievements of modern man.
And Gene 1, yeah. I'm hoping to see that movie this week. We'll see.
1851 was the first big exhibition of its kind in the world. It was housed in a spectacular piece of architecture, an enormous building completely made...
Oh, hang on. Wait. This is the subject of our stream today. Let's emphasize this, okay?
Hawkins.
Benjamin Waterhouse
Which means
Hawkins.
in its English form, terrible lizards. Here they are, as conceived by British sculptor Waterhouse Hawkins.
The man was kind of a genius.
Hawkins heard about Owen's Dinosaurs while he was working on designs for the famous Crystal Palace exhibition in London that had been built to celebrate the brilliant achievements of modern man. The Great Exhibition of 1851 was the first big exhibition of its kind in the world. It was housed in a spectacular piece of architecture, an enormous building completely made of glass and steel. Inspired by Owen's vision of these terrible lizards and seizing the opportunity offered by the exhibition, Hawkins contacted Owen, and together they designed a fossil zoo based on Waterhouse Hawkins' sketches to be housed on the grounds of the Crystal Palace.
This is, oh my goodness, was this groundbreaking in its day. This is basically, you can kind of think of it as like the world's first theme park. A public exhibition space that was meant to be awe-inspiring and at the same time educational. It was designed to inspire and enlighten, and it did both of those, perhaps in equal measure.
Zoo, based on Waterhouse Hawkins' sketches,
Green
to
Minstrel.
be housed on the grounds of the Crystal Palace.
Oh, and that, oh man, this is the famous invitation for the dinner in the Iguanodon. I love that they're just breezing past this here, but this is so cool. Yeah. Check this out right here. This was a hand-drawn invitation done by Waterhouse Hawkins. Does Mr. Waterhouse Hawkins request the honor of Mr. Joseph Prestwich's company, I think he was a geologist at the time, at dinner in the mold of the Iguanodon at the Crystal Palace on Saturday evening, December the 31st at 5 o'clock, 1853. This very day, New Year's Eve, December 31st, 1853. It's 2023 today. At least it's still 2023 here where I live. It's already 2024 where some of you are watching from. I'm aware of this. But let's do the math here, shall we? 2023 minus 1853. All right, computer. 170 years ago to the day. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And you learned about this in art history class? Oh, that's super cool, Invisible Dimensions. We learn about this in, you know, dinosaur classes. If you're studying to become a paleontologist, you know? Well, they either will or won't. It depends. But you learn about it in dinosaur documentaries. Yeah. What kind of an emphasis did they put on this, Invisible Dimensions? What was the lesson from this for art history? I'd love to know.
In 1853, the zoo was complete enough for Owen to host a dinner party inside a half-finished Iguanodon.
The invitation says it was in the mold of the Iguanodon, which is difficult to parse. I'm not entirely sure how that works. But all of these famous scientists crammed into here. And, yeah, you wanted to be at the head of the Iguanodon, literally, right there. But this illustration seems to show that you could have a seat of honor within the Iguanodon itself, and then there was a table that came out perpendicular to it, like that. I always kind of wondered, like, these things are not particularly big. How in the world could you fit this big dinner party there? But they must have built a platform and had a table going out from it perpendicular, like that. So for anyone else who's ever wondered about that, there you go.
Inside a half-finished Iguanodon.
And it wasn't paper mache, Freelancer. We'll be talking about the materials.
In the year 1854, the exhibit was opened and 40,000 people attended on the first day.
And that wasn't the following year. It was within the same year. That's a New Year's goof right there. Yeah.
The exhibit was opened and the following year, 1854,
It wasn't the following year. That was held on New Year's Eve, 1853. So it was only a few months later, I think. Right? Right? Let's look at the invitation again.
Palace.
Saturday, December 31st, 1853. Yeah, so it was only a few months later, not next year.
1853, the zoo was complete enough for Owen to host a dinner party inside a half-finished Iguanodon.
An apple juice you'd always wondered. Good. Well, now you know.
The following year, 1854, the exhibit was opened and 40,000 people attended on the first day.
So altogether, this made a complete, very spectacular and complete age of reptiles, which seemed to have preceded the age of mammals, and which in turn had preceded the age of man.
There's the Megalosaurus.
The animals still stand there as Owen and Hawkins envisioned them.
Yep. Mostly Hawkins. Pretty cool.
But did dinosaurs really look like this? Planted squarely on 4 feet like bovine armored tanks?
Bovine? How about elephantine? You know?
The first answers came from the other side of the Atlantic.
From Peter Dodson?
Dodson is professor of paleontology at the University of Pennsylvania.
And who or what now owns and operates Crystal Palace? Well, that's a good question. It's got to be some sort of municipal or state-run, like, parks association outside of London. But there's the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs, which is a, like, agglomeration of people who are very enthusiastic about the Crystal Palace dinosaurs, and they've worked to preserve and restore them. We'll see a video from them in a little bit, too.
These goings-on in Britain were all very well and good, but
And is it countdown time yet? Shoot, Joji, I hadn't even thought to do that. I had a very busy day, crazy busy day. And I didn't really, like, get anything together for that, but let's see here. Let's see, midnight would be 6 hours ahead. Time zone, 6 hours ahead of Pacific. 24-hour format. There we go. Let's see. So who's going to have... I'm right here in the Pacific time zone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Greenland. 6 is... No, it's not London. It's not Greenwich. It's this part of Greenland, I guess? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think many people live there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or no, is Greenland on the same time? I don't even know. Yeah. I don't know if we'll have a big countdown. We can do that next year. Let's continue.
It took discoveries here in America to really advance the science of paleontology.
Yep.
This is the very first American dinosaur discovery. This tooth
It's not,
was
actually.
tantalizing rather than informative. The most exciting dinosaur discovery was the discovery of this skeleton in New Jersey, in Haddonfield, New Jersey.
Yep.
These bones were sent
Hadrosaurus.
to Professor Leidy at the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia. Leidy was a brilliant paleontologist and anatomist. He named the skeleton Hadrosaurus. This was the first duck-billed dinosaur.
That's where the duck-billed dinosaurs get their name. Anyway, we're kind of getting far afield here. Let's take a look at... the friends of the Crystal Palace dinosaurs. Well, first, let's take a look at this from 1922. In those good old days, filmed at Crystal Palace. This is probably going to be silent, right? Come to think of it, our ancestors had a pretty rapid time about 1 million years ago. Fancy meeting a gentle iguanodon. Probably give it a British accent, right? This is great. And that's Megalosaurus right there, actually. That's, this critter. Or his pals, Megalosaurus, Plesiosaurus, and co. All eager for business. And these are... Shoot, I forget which genus of mammal these are supposed to be. We've got a bunch of mammals here. It's not just dinosaurs at the Crystal Palace geological court. There's mammals, reptiles, amphibians. We've got labyrinthodonts there too. Mr. Meg and the rest would certainly be novel stable companion. Be a novel stable companion, yeah. And there's the Iguanodon right there. The standing Iguanodon. And novel, dear reader, because from end to end he measured 37 feet and was 23 feet round the body. Pretty cool. And crazy to think these were like 80 years old at the time. The Teleosaurus was also a nice little fellow. He used to roam around Whitby. How they must miss him. Yeah, Teleosaurus is an ancient crocodile with long, thin jaws like that, kind of reminiscent of a gharial. And Brits used the metric system there. 25. That's an ichthyosaur right there. So when anyone speaks of those good old days, dear reader, just ask how old? Was that what it was? I can't see with these cards in the way. Yeah. And then take a look at this one from 1959. This one's got sound.
To the gardens of yesterday. Prehistoric times, in fact, when in place of lizards and snails, our ancestors had these monsters to contend with. However, you'll be happy to know that these are...
I like how that's the idea of wild beasts near London. Lizards and snails.
From the gardens of tomorrow to the gardens of yesterday. Prehistoric times, in fact, when in place of lizards and snails, our ancestors had these monsters to contend with. However,
there you go,
you'll be
Alexander,
happy to know that these are merely stone and cement models of the creatures that roamed Earth millions of years ago. The only collection found in a natural setting in England. The location is London's Crystal Palace, and reason for our visit, a super-scale spring clean. After all, they've been there for well over 100 years now.
Do you have a video? You watched a video about the food served in the Iguanodon? Reanimate a bit? Yeah, I've seen that one. I don't know if we'll watch that today, but yeah. Forgot the Scots. There you go, Dinosaur Dave, yeah.
Man in charge of this renovating is Polish-born sculptor Mr. Biankowski, whose Christian name, aptly enough, is Adam. Of course, not all of the 29 monsters, from dinosaurs to pterodactyls in the park, need extensive repairs. Some need only a few coats of paint.
Like the Hyleosaurus, hopefully. Yeah, nice.
Painter and decorator Gordon Free is probably happier than he cares to admit he doesn't have to work nights on this job. Although, no doubt, after a few weeks, even the most fearsome-looking creatures don't seem so bad. Each of the animals is given several coats of paint, the colors carefully blended to heighten the natural appearance, under the supervision of Dr. Swinton of the British Museum Natural History Section. The monsters took 5 years to construct originally, being finished in 1853. This one was finished too, but lost its head in World War II bombing, which, as you can imagine, was enough to make any prehistoric creature lose its head.
Wait, really? Did the Germans destroy the plesiosaurus's head during a bomb? Wow. Hey, Timmer's Crutch. Happy New Year's to you, too.
War II bombing, which, as you can imagine, was enough to make any prehistoric creature lose its head. Come to think of it, almost as wearing...
In fact, I want to look that up real quick. Here, we'll finish this video and then I'll look it up.
The hordes of tiny but fearless human monsters who've climbed all over them for the past century. Fortunately for them, we grown-ups are generally timid enough to keep a respectful distance.
So this is 1959. Holy cow, looky Lucille. 5 gift subs there. Thank you kindly. I do really appreciate that. Looky Lucille, and Happy New Year to you too.
Lucky Lausel just changed things with those 5 gift subs.
Thank you. Looky Lucille. Thank you very much. And 5 chatters here, I think, are equally grateful for not having to watch any ads. Spanning 2 years now. For the whole rest of 2023 and the beginning of 2024, no ads for them. Thanks to your generosity. Appreciate you. Yeah. Happy New Year to you too. Thanks for keeping me on here with that support. Here we go. Crystal Palace, the Crystal Palace plesiosaurs. The first ever life-size models of prehistoric animals were produced in the early 1850s by Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. They were revealed to the world at the Crystal Palace in London, 1854. Today they grace the grounds at Sydenham Hill, where they are classified as Grade 1 listed buildings. We'll watch a video about that too in a second. There we go. And And there's the plesiosaurus. That's such a cool view from the front. You don't often get that view. The head of the plesiosaurus, macrocephalus, because it's not actually plesiosaurus, strictly speaking, was originally much larger, as shown in early illustrations, but the animal lost its head in World War II bombing. That's, I guess, a direct quote from the video we just watched. So the head was subsequently replaced in the 1950s with a much smaller representation. Interesting. This is doubly regretful because it means the original head is lost, but a large head is also what differentiates this species from the other Crystal Palace plesiosaur species. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder if Mark Whitten talks about that in this book right here. Crystal Palace dinosaurs and plesiosaurs and other critters. Does he actually talk about the plesiosaurs there? Here, I think he does. Yeah, here's some non-dinosaurian animals. And let's see. Looking. All right. Should be just in here. At some point in the early or mid-20th century, the head of Plesiosaurus macrocephalus was lost and a replacement modeled on the Plesiosaurus Hawkins eye sculpture was installed in the 1950s. We just saw that in the video. The 1959 film Restoring Monsters by British Pathé suggests that the original macrocephalus head was lost during the bombing of London during the Second World War. If so, this would be the only recorded instance of the geological court being damaged in the Blitz. The remains of the head were subsequently stored in the collection of the Crystal Palace Museum, and were only identified in 2018 by the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. Very cool. And there's lovely illustrations in here, too, that accompany the excellent photographs in a Mark Whitten's book on the subject. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. This is the one that we just saw with the replaced head. And it is actually impressive. Waterhouse Hawkins was... I mean, people make fun of the Crystal Palace dinosaurs sometimes. Oh, they're so inaccurate, but... there was a lot of actual really good scientific art that went into them. Portraying these like a seal. Like, this almost looks like an elephant seal right here coming up onto the beach. That was kind of the idea there. I think the idea originally, too, was that the water levels would change throughout the day, almost like the tides, and so more or less of these animals would be revealed, depending on what time of day it was. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. The song Enola Gay was playing in the background. There you go, Beats International. Thankfully, it wasn't that kind of bomb that the Germans were using. Yowza. Yeah. But take a look at... well, actually... let's take a look at... this here. We've got a video by kind of an obscure YouTuber. What was his name again? Oh, let me find it. Hang on a sec. Trying to type at an angle, it's not working. Here we go.
I'm in Crystal Palace Park in South London, and there are dinosaurs. Models of dinosaurs, anyway, and inaccurate models at that. But that's because they're more than 150 years old. These were the first ever life-size models of extinct creatures built for the gardens of the enormous Crystal Palace that used to stand on top of a hill over there. They were made by the wonderfully named Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. We now know that they are utterly wrong in many significant ways, but at the time they were a marvel. Look at what once walked the earth. Now, in England there is a list of buildings that have special protection under the law.
A complicated name.
Are called listed buildings because they're on the list of buildings. And this country is full of them. Historic England, the not-quite-government organisation that manages the list, says there's about 500,000 buildings on it. Most of those are Grade 2 listed, which means they've got to be kept mostly intact and any changes need a really good reason behind them. But more than 10,000 places are Grade 1 listed, which means they must be preserved. Pretty much anything that was built more than 200 years ago and is still standing is on the list. But there are some more modern things too, including these dinosaurs. Yep, Grade 1 listed dinosaurs. Can't be changed, moved, or demolished.
And these are not dinosaurs here, nor are
25 feet long, weighing 4 tons.
Will 6'2".
Little sort of chap. He won a lot of arguments in his time, but very few beauty contests.
Thank you, Will 6'2", for the 6 months of support. I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Good stuff. And we just got a shout out from Science Streams. Let's return that twofold. Let's get a shout out for Science Streams here too. Anyway, thank you, Will 6'2", for the 6 months of support. I really appreciate that. And good description of you. You're both beautiful and argumentative. Good stuff. Yeah. You know, that those are all the ingredients you need to be a debate star. So good stuff.
Have to be kept in good condition.
And twofold, yeah, I guess we don't have twice as many viewers as Bulent right now. Actually, not even close. But there you go, Lenina. Thanks for giving him 2 shouts out. Yeah.
And they can't be updated to reflect.
Anyway, these are not dinosaurs here. These are ancient mammals. What were these? I forget what they're called. Yeah, some sort of ancient ungulate. And then we've got labyrinthodonts right here, which are, these are, you know, big old amphibians. And then we've got I think that's a big old ichthyosaur right there. I don't think that's the mosasaurus.
Moved or demolished. Have to
are they Oreodonts, Will? Okay,
and they
cool.
can't be updated to reflect what modern paleontologists now know, because that would involve changing them and destroying not a dinosaur display, but a display about what we once thought.
There's the mosasaurus there. No, not right there. That's a duck. That is the mosasaurus there.
What dinosaurs looked like. Something that's notable not because of what it represents in itself, but because of the history in the sculptures. These dinosaurs must, by law, remain inaccurate.
Yeah, well, they've got an excuse, you know, because they're on the list. Jurassic World didn't have an excuse. Inaccurate dinosaurs out of sheer laziness.
Because the story they tell isn't about prehistoric times. It's about science just 150 years ago.
Pretty cool.
I've done a video with Minute Earth about Null Island, the busiest place that does...
Anyway, here is a link to that video. There you go. Yeah. And now let's take a look at this video. One of the, well, really the main group of people who are ensuring that these sculptures, you know, don't just survive, but, you know, I guess thrive in our modern world, are the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs, and I think this video features them. And there you go, Will 16. On Hadrosaurine, I think there was one, Lenina.
The sculptures and landscapes were built here in 1853 and 1854, and they were the first ever...
Well. This message brought to you from Rose Sand T. Rose Sand. Thank you for the 21 months of support. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Here. Let's continue.
1853 and 1854, and they were the first ever reconstructions of extinct animals. The landscapes were developed as an experience that people could walk through and understand the science of geology and the discoveries of paleontology, of fossils of animals that were extinct. It was just a completely new way to see the history of life.
I'd love to imagine people coming across them for the first time and seeing these huge creatures and thinking, what on earth is this? And wanting to know more about it. And
oh boy. Look at the poor Megalosaurus here. Just the front of his snout is gone. Yowza. But it's a good thing we've got good folks like this to help correct that.
huge creatures and thinking, what on earth is this? And wanting to know more about it. And that's really the intention of them, is to spark that imagination, spark the interest, and they still do that now, which is what makes me think they're so great.
The story is often told that they're inaccurate today. Well, they are inaccurate today, but science is always like that. They were using the best
Very true.
knowledge of the time, and so they really were the forefront of science.
To the point where there are actually things about them that were... Let me show you an example. Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, this man right here, who conceived of, designed, and built the sculptures, along with a team of assistants, I can only assume. He got some things really, really right. I mean, from just a handful of bones, like for Megalosaurus right here, for instance. Let's see. Megalosaurus, Oxford. Basically, this is all that he had to work with right here. Some hip bones, some leg bones, and some jaw bones. Nobody had any idea what a dinosaur would look like at the time. Megalosaurus is actually the first dinosaur ever scientifically described. These are some of the first dinosaur bones dug up by anyone literally anywhere. And just from these few scanty remains, he was able to envision that this animal walked... Well, he thought it walked on all fours, but because he was told that it was a lizard-like animal. But by examining these bones, he was able to determine that it actually walked upright like this. Thank you, Joshua Sweet, for those 250 bits. Happy New Year to you, too. Unlike lizards, which sprawl their limbs out to the sides. Here. Yeah, lizards, their legs go out to the sides like this. There's a very lazy Komodo dragon there. There's a lovely leopard gecko. Arms, legs going out to the sides like this. That's a sprawling gait. So, sprawling, semi-erect, and erect gait. Oh, there we go. Sprawling and upright. This is what I wanted to show you. So sprawling like this, you know, your belly's kind of dragging on the ground, so is your tail. Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins realized that he couldn't make these animals sprawl. Their limbs just didn't work like that. So he recognized that they had an upright posture, which at the time was like unknown for reptiles. They're thinking of these animals as being reptiles, but they're very special reptiles. They're different. There's something unique about them. Well, they're dinosaurs. Upright limbs. It's kind of astonishing that he figured this out. And in designing this, he recognized the animal had a really big head. And he thought, well, animals today that have got really big heads, they need a way to help support that weight. And so he gave it this big old hump right here. Megalosaurus did not have this. But in trying to conceive of this as like a real living animal, something that needs to work biologically, mechanically, everything else, it's got to have some way to support that big heavy head. And so he gave it these tall neural spines over the shoulders like this. basically there'd be attachment points for tendons that would help hold up that big heavy head. Other earlier reconstructions of Megalosaurus don't have that. But Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins understood how animals worked. And holy cow, Will62, thank you for those 5 gift subs. I really appreciate that. Holy cow. Thank you, Will62.
Will 62 just changed things with those 5 gift subs.
There's 5 people in chat who are also very grateful. Yeah, earlier reconstructions of Megalosaurus don't show it like that. Holy cow, Reaganation, 5 more gift subs. Thank you. Holy moly. Do I appreciate that. Thank you, Reaganation.
Reaganation really wants ukulele with those 5 gift subs.
Thank you, Reaganation. Holy cow, look. We're at 79 out of 40. We're nearly double our sub goal for the day. That is extraordinary. Holy cow. Good stuff. Oh, man. And here's an early reconstruction. Frankly, really goofy one. Of Victorian Iguanodon versus Megalosaurus. You notice here, it doesn't really have that hump over its shoulders. Even under the Iguanodon's jaws.
Reaganation.
Thank you, Reaganation, for gifting Ferret Fawcett. Good aim there.
93 gift subs in the
Excellent. Thank you, Reaganation. We've doubled our sub goal for today. That's excellent. It really is. Now it's double. Thank you, Reaganation. Thank you very much. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, this is a French rendering of these animals from the time. L'Iguanodon et le Megalosaure. Période Crétacé inférieure. The lower Cretaceous period. So anyway, the point is, Waterhouse Hawkins, he was working with very limited material, and he recognized stuff like, shoot, this animal should have, if it's going to have a big heavy head like that, and an upright stance, it's going to need a hump right there in order to help support its head. It's kind of like the skeleton of like a bison. Look at that. A bison's also got a big ol' hump over its shoulders in order to support that big heavy head. Waterhouse Hawkins knew his animals. And so he designed the Megalosaurus in the same way. It might not be accurate, but it's consistent. It makes sense biologically. The man knew what he was doing. Good stuff. Yeah. Draw me like one of your French dinos. There you go, Steely Dad. Yeah. Yeah. And Tone Rebellion, I just saw that the other day, yeah. If Jurassic Park was a story set in Victorian England. Let me look that up right now. With the kids in the carriage. And the Megalosaurus winging a lantern. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. 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 Oh, I love that. Anywho. So yeah, did I make my point there? With is that Marsh or Cope? Wait, what do you mean, Dinosaur Tape? Yeah.
For that, so great.
The story.
So hopefully I made my point that, you know, these might not be scientifically accurate by today's standards, but at the time, they were a wonder of science communication. I think that's what makes these sculptures so exciting even today.
Is often told that they're inaccurate today.
Oh, with the lantern.
Well, they are
Dinosaur
inaccurate
Day.
today, but science is always like that. They were using the best knowledge of the time, and so they really were the forefront of science. For that, they're remarkable.
Yep. Agreed.
The reason we founded Friends of Crystal Palace Dinosaurs years ago is we
Big
noticed that the
paleo salute to
sculptures
them.
were
Holy
in
cow.
bad shape. If you look very closely, you'll see
Ugh.
cracks and problems with the structure. We'd already been working with the council and the mayor's office and had 2 rounds of conservation work already done on a few of the sculptures. And in the meantime, last May, during the lockdown, there...
The barrister fled to the water closet. There you go. That meddler. Yeah. Anyway.
sculptures. And in the meantime, last May, during the lockdown, there was an event that caused part of the most iconic sculpture, the megalosaur, to collapse.
There was an event?
And we had to
What was the
use
event?
emergency measures for repairs on this extraordinary sculpture.
There was a huge outpouring of love for the sculptures. All these different people from completely different walks of life from all over the world just started sending us funds to help the megalosaur and to help us do something about it. Because we'd received this money from the public, this meant that we were able to present match funding to the Cultural Recovery Fund when we made our application in conjunction with Bromley Council.
The Cultural Recovery Fund is allowing us to stabilise the sculpture and ensure that it doesn't get worse. We will make a prosthesis to make it look whole again until we get enough funding to actually restore the parts that have broken off.
So behind us we've got the new lightweight prosthesis that we've had 3D printed after having the damaged pieces.
That is
3D
a
scanned.
brilliant use of 3D printing there. Just excellent.
And we're now painting
it
it
makes me
to
so happy.
match the weathered historic material so that when we fit it to the megalosaur it'll blend in and not appear as if it's had a new part fitted. There's some fixing points we've designed into the prosthesis, and then we've fabricated a new stainless steel armature, which we basically bolt that to the existing armature, and then the upper jaw is actually supported off the lower jaw with some fixings,
There we go.
which is really similar to the original construction where it had basically a block of masonry as a support. The idea is we can install this prosthesis and we're not interfering with the historic fabric at all, so everything's completely reversible for in the future when they come to do further conservation works.
Pretty amazing.
One of the really nice things about being involved in the dinosaurs and being local is that when I can walk past and listen to children teaching their parents about dinosaurs, explaining that actually mummy or daddy, these days we think that this would have feathers or would stand on its hind legs. So it's really lovely to hear members of the public educate each other about them as well.
We're working on trying to preserve all the sculptures and ensure that they've got a long future. Another 170 years, if we can sort that out, because their message is one that is relevant perhaps even more today than before, because the understanding of how science works is really critical to living in a modern and improving world.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Yeah. Holy cow, I'll give you a link to that video right there. Oh yes, the banknotes problem. Yeah, Miracle Schmirgle. It always is that, isn't it? But, go to the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. And yeah, let's take a look at it. Oh, Mike Benton talking about the dinosaurs at Crystal Palace Park. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. Nice. You're good,
we're
Ferret
at Crystal
Fawcett.
Palace
Appreciate
here looking
you.
at some of the dinosaur models. These are fantastically important on an international scale because this was the first time anybody had tried to visualize what dinosaurs looked like. They may look sort of quaint to us because they're a mid-Victorian image of what people thought at the time, but they were carefully based on the available evidence. They were the idea of Sir Richard Owen, who was one of the leading natural scientists of the time, professor, expert in paleontology. He had studied many of the early dinosaurs. And it was at the time of the Great Exhibition in 1851 that the idea emerged of making a permanent home for the wonderful glass palace, which was showing the marvels of technology and science and industry. But his passion was the fossils, and he wanted to show the dinosaurs and the marine reptiles and all the other creatures. And he thought, what better than making them full size, which was a scary concept. They had to be built of concrete, and the artist who built them was Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins.
Yep.
And I don't think he had ever had a commission like this before in his life, because together, the rather dour professor, together with this showman artist, had to come up with images that were satisfactory in terms of scientific accuracy.
And shoot, that's the thing too, is that this dour scientist and this, you know, real showman of an artist, they, I was going to say they didn't work particularly well together. Apparently, it's not that they didn't work well together, it's that they kind of didn't work together for the most part. Richard Owen was apparently just MIA for most of this. Almost all of the scientific work that went into the Crystal Palace dinosaurs was done by Waterhouse Hawkins. Like, he had to actually read up on the literature, talk to paleontologists, they weren't called paleontologists at the time, but, you know, talk to the gentleman naturalists of the day. And apparently there are letters that he had repeatedly sent to Owen being like, hey, can you help me out with this? I'm on my own here. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. And Owen just was absent from the project for most of it. I learned that from Mark Whitten's book here, which I would highly recommend you check out. Yeah.
But that would be exciting and impressive for the visitor.
That Teleosaurus.
Owen worked with the best information he had available, so although they look very strange to us today, in fact some of the dinosaurs look more like strange rhinoceroses or something like that, he had a strong view that dinosaurs were actually, although they were reptiles, he was fairly clear they were quite advanced in certain ways. And amazingly, he even thought they were warm-blooded. And so partly for the wrong reasons, partly for the right reasons, he wanted to show them looking something like mammals. And you might think, well, how on earth could he get it so wrong? But back then, in the 1840s and 1850s, he did not have any complete skeletons. So he had just partial bits of bones, leg bones, isolated.
Like we talked about.
A few jaw bones.
Yeah.
And he did his best fitting them
So you
together.
do,
It's worth
dig up dinosaurs?
Pickles Wiggles.
Wow.
Thank you for the raid, and
Wiggles and their 5 raiders want to know what it's like.
welcome to Paleontologizing. It is great to have you here, and a Happy New Year's to you, Pickles Wiggles. And raiders, howdy howdy. It's really good to have you here. We're talking about the Crystal Palace dinosaurs because of the famous dinner in the Iguanodon 170 years ago to this very day. Good stuff. Yeah. Owen seemed to have sort of a disdain for dinosaurs. Why do you say that, Alexander Morrison? Yeah, is there like a specific thing? But greetings from the jar. Good to have you here, Pickles Wiggles. How did your stream go, by the way? I hope it was really good. Oh, thank you, Lenina. Sorry. Something called Dead Space. You're doing well. I'm glad you've emerged from it alive and well. It's good to have you here. It was good. Had a lot of fun. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Now let's continue with this.
remembering they were skeletons. So He had just partial bits of bones, leg bones, isolated teeth, a few jaw bones, and he did his best fitting them together. It's worth remembering they were set up 5 or 6 years before Darwin's Origin of Species, the book from 1859, that many people regard as the seminal or key work in all of the biological sciences. The correct position now would not be to laugh at Owen and Hawkins, because they were doing their best. And of course, if we were to laugh at them and say, oh, they were very silly, they got it wrong. Well, what will people say in 100 years' time about our current
what indeed
dinosaurs?
Yeah. I can already laugh at these.
The Crystal Palace dinosaurs have been seen by millions of people. They're in a public park in South London. People walk past and see them, kids love them, and you can get up close from time to time. But they're in need of care. People might think big concrete monsters, nobody cares, they'll last forever. Absolutely not. Bits fall off, they naturally decay. And it's important to remember in their early days they were brightly painted. And over the years they have been cleaned and repainted, but that paint doesn't last very long. So the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs is a wonderful and charitable organization. They have been around for a long time.
Get me one of those shirts.
The dinosaurs,
those are
negotiating with the local authorities, raising heritage funds, and relying on the general public. So it's a fantastic job they do, and their work is needed, and we need the dinosaurs to survive another century or two.
Hear, hear.
I'll say my favorite dinosaur is Iguanodon. We can see him in the background. He's got a nice new coat of paint. I like Iguanodon because...
Dig up dinosaurs?
I do indeed, Boosted Brims.
Wow.
It's good to have you here.
Boosted_Brims and their 5 raiders want to know what it's like.
Thank you, Boosted Brims, for the raid. How was your stream? I hope it was real good, and Happy New Year's to you. Doing something called Makers and Crafting. What did you make and or craft? Something textile related, perhaps? Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. It's good to have you. Yeah, I want one of those shirts too, Courtney Raptor. Holy cow.
I'll say my favorite dinosaur is Iguanodon. We can see him in the background. He's got a nice new coat of paint. I like Iguanodon because it was a very important dinosaur in the early Cretaceous. Present, we now know, in huge herds over much of Europe, and so clearly very well adapted.
And Iacane.
Ontogeny.
Iguanodon has always sounded like the nickname for a reptile enthusiast named Don.
Makes sense, doesn't it, Iacane? Yeah, the name Iguanodon means iguana tooth, but this past summer when I was working with Don DeBlue, digging up an Iguanodontian, we started calling him Iguanodon a little bit. I was going to find a clip with Don, but that's okay. Anyway, you're right on the money there, Iacane. Thank you so much for the 29 months of support, by the way. I appreciate you. Happy New Year's to you, Iacane. It'll be New Year's for you over there on the East Coast in, in less than 3 hours at this point. I hope you're having a good one, Iacane. It's good to see you. Thanks for keeping me here on the air for that long. 29 months. It's a long time. Yeah. And it means iguana tooth, yeah. I don't know where you got the butt part, Iacane, but yeah. Or the head of the iguana mafia. Yeah. Yeah. Look how they fossilized my boy. Look how they've extincted my boy. Good stuff. Are there any Scottish dinosaurs? That's a good question, Baldy. We've got some footprints from dinosaurs from the Isle of Skye, which I believe is off the coast of Scotland, isn't it? We've got Scottish pterosaurs. I don't know if we have any Scottish dinosaur bones yet. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're good, Boosted Brims. It's good to see you. I do custom hat brims and accessories. We're working on a collab with a company called Findlay Hats. Very cool, Boosted Brims. Do you have a favorite kind of hat? I just moved over the last of my hats from my old apartment today, along with the rest of all my other stuff. And maybe my favorite hat is, well, it doesn't quite look like this. It's an Australian slouch hat. That's my go-to in the field. Unless it's too hot out, otherwise I wear a sun helmet. But, yeah. Boonies and 7 panels, nice. Boosted Brims, cool. Mine looks a lot more worn than this. I would take it out and show you, but it's still in a box in the garage right now. But yeah, very cool. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the raid, Boosted Brim. It's good to have you here. And Alexander Morrison, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. No worries. It's just good to have you here, Alexander. There. Let's get back to this. This video is almost over here.
In the background, he's got a nice new coat of paint. I like Iguanodon because it was a very important dinosaur in the early Cretaceous. Present, we now know, in huge herds over
Not in Europe. Mine's actually made in the US.
So clearly
Dr.
very
Offson.
well adapted,
Yeah.
a good archetype of a great dinosaur. And in the history of dinosaurs, of course, it was the second one ever named, and it's got that wonderful horn on its nose, and we just love that story of the revision of scientific knowledge. So we know that that's not a horn on its nose.
It's actually a thumb spike.
I won't say what it is.
It's a thumb spike. Yeah. Pretty awesome. And are those shirts available like we saw earlier? Where were those? Nope. Shoot, where were those? He was talking about the Friends of the Crystal Palace dinosaurs.
Negotiate.
There we go. Yeah. Are those available anywhere? Because I would love to get me one of those. Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. Give you a link to their website also. Yeah. And support us. Donate. PayPal. Ooh, buy goodies. Oh, nice. Are they all out? Shoot.
This is a dinosaur, and this is a dinosaur too.
That first one there wasn't actually a dinosaur. That was Dimetrodon. But sachet to the sarcasm. What a great name. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Is that really the only one they have available here? Shoot. Well, I might just have to make my own Crystal Palace dinosaur shirt. Which maybe I'll do for next year. That'd be cool. Yeah. Anyway, rap more correctly, dude. Yeah, right, Baldy? And a what spike? A thumb spike, Heox. Here. In the Crystal Palace sculptures, Iguanodon is portrayed with this spike on its nose. because there was a bizarre spike found. With the first Iguanodon specimens there, and they're like, well, where does this belong? Yeah, it must be on the nose. Turns out it's not. I'll show you where it did belong. Alright, I have here a life-size 3D printed Iguanodon element. Who can tell me what this is right here? What does that look like to you? Interesting. The skull, says Dinosaur Dave. Let's see, judges, can we accept that? No, sorry. It is not the skull. I know you're joking, Dinosaur Dave. You know it very well what it is. But yeah, this is Iguanodon hand. And that is the thumb spike right there. So it's got this just ridiculous weapon on its thumb. When we do think this was a weapon, in life it would have been covered by a keratinous sheath, so it would have been longer and much sharper, covered with a material kind of like your fingernails, so like a rhinoceros's horn. But yeah, that is an Iguanodon hand, and it's pretty big. It's, as you can see, it's bigger than my hand. Okay. It's a big animal. This is from Iguanodon Bernus artensis. It's a cool critter. It's a cool critter. And it got big. It got real big. And there it is compared to a human woman person. Big hands. Big animal. Holy cow. They get big. They're some of the biggest ornithischian dinosaurs, honestly. They get really, really big. Yeah, deadliest thumb spikes in the west. Or the east, Steely Dan, yeah. Yeah. And a person wearing a skirt, at least. True, Charlie's bragging. I don't know. I guess she would have to confirm. Kathariba, thank you for the follow, and looks like you're excited for the stream. Thanks for following. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Oh, loud, he big lad. Yeah, right, the raven? It's not a small animal. Not a small animal. And, let's see. I'd like to find for you a clip kind of about this time in dinosaur paleontology, getting back to the Crystal Palace dinosaurs and the famous dinner in the Iguanodon. That should be in here. Documentaries. And let's see. Where is that going to be? Yeah, hang on a minute. This is going to take me a minute to find. So just patient here. But I'm working on a new cold open video. Have been for a while now. And this will help me track that down, because at least I'll have the title from a clip that I put into the new cold open. Cross your fingers that this doesn't crash OBS right now. Instead, Adobe Premiere might crash. Or at least not work. Anyway, hang on a minute. And did they have the dinner in the Iguanodon, or was it apocryphal? They absolutely did, Baldy. Yeah, yeah. That's not going to work, is it? Shoot. Let's see. Give me just a second here. Get some there, or there, or that. Oh well, that's okay. Back to here. I don't know if I'm able to find that clip. I don't remember where I got it from. It was from somewhere on YouTube, but I don't know if I'm able to find it. Anyway, here's another clip from an old documentary that I really like the framing here and the use of Auld Lang Syne here too. Very appropriate for New Year's. Take a look. Not right now, but in a minute, Auld Lang Syne.
Owen hired the leading sculptor of the day, Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, to bring dinosaurs to life. From the fragmentary evidence, Hawkins built models that thrilled Victorian England. They were destined for Crystal Palace in London. It was the first dinosaur theme park ever built, and it still attracts the public today. Ever the publicist always celebrated the achievement by hosting the most bizarre dinner party ever held.
There we go.
On New Year's Eve, 1854, he invited the leading scientists of the day to wine and dine in the belly of Hawkins' still unfinished model of Iguanodon.
Look at that. Fireworks outside. And Baldy, it is the 170th anniversary of this event. Holy cow. Yeah. 1853. Yeah, or I guess New Year's 1854. Yep.
Through an alcoholic haze, the world's most eminent scholars could now picture prehistory in all its terrifying glory.
Dinosaurs right there. Iguanodon. Dinosaurs again.
1,000 bits can make a wonderful difference in promoting the appreciation and understanding of fossil science here on Twitch.
Thank you for those 1,000 bits, Ash Rubber. Thank you, thank you.
Myosaurs always ate their vegetables.
And for global warming, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. Holy cow, Ash Rubber. 1,000 bits is extraordinary, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Holy moly. Happy New Year to you. I think maybe I'll read you a little story, chat. There's a wonderful children's book that I got when I was a child that tells the story of the Crystal Palace dinosaurs, Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, and the famous dinner in the Iguanodon on New Year's Eve, 1853, 170 years ago to this very night. Give me a 2 in the chat if you'd like me to read this book to you real quick. It's not very long, but it's kind of a New Year's tradition, I guess it's become on this channel. And okay, I see some 2s there. Let's do it. You're gonna like this. British accent. We'll see, Dinosaur Dave. Here. Let's try this. For some ambiance. And let me get that book. That should be right here. Here we go. Lovely. The book is called The Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. This is a book that I had... Well, shoot. When did I get this? I'm dating myself here. But, there we go. The Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. To Danny, love Mom. May 5th, 2002. I'm not that old. Or maybe I am. This is lovely. It kind of lays the story out. And what I love about this is a book that was written, I guess, for kids, but kind of for kids of all ages. The artwork in it is resplendent. The story isn't really dumbed down at all. And this can be enjoyed by kids and adults alike. It's good stuff. And Yarn Fondler, it's good to have you here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. There's the man himself, Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins. And look at this right here. We've got that Megalosaurus. Holy cow. Yeah! Right. Go, Mayor of Space. Happy New Year's, Mayor. It's good to have you here. All right. The Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. What a beautiful book. And there's some real scholarship that went into this, too. It's good stuff. And I love how they just really commit to the aesthetic here of a Victorian book like this. It's really nice. An illuminating history of Mr. Waterhouse Hawkins, artist and lecturer, by Barbara Curley, with drawings by Brian Selznick, many of which are based on the original sketches of Mr. Hawkins. A true dinosaur story in 3 ages, from a childhood love of art to the monumental dinosaur sculptures at the Crystal Palace in England to the thwarted work in New York's Central Park. It's all here. Okay. We begin. began, the First Age, London. Horse-drawn carriages clattered down the streets of London in 1853. Gentlemen tipped their hats to ladies passing by. Children ducked and dodged on their way to school. But Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins had no time to be out and about. Waterhouse, as he liked to call himself, hurried toward his workshop in a park south of town. He was expecting some very important visitors. He didn't want to be late. There's these sketches that are falling out of his portfolio here. This kid is just delighted. His imagination has just run amok with these visions of dinosaurs and pterosaurs there. It's really nice. Love it now in year 4. Yeah, Frazo, isn't this great? Happy New Year to you too, Rogue Storm. As he neared his workshop, Waterhouse thought of the hours he'd spent outside as a boy. Like many artists, he'd grown up sketching the world around him. By the time he was a young man, he'd found his true passion: animals. He loved to draw and to paint them. But what he really loved was sculpting models of them. Through his care and hard work, they seemed to come to life. Now Waterhouse was busy with the most exciting project. He was building dinosaurs. His creations would prowl the grounds at Queen Victoria and Prince Albert's new art and science museum, the Crystal Palace. Even though the English had just found the first known dinosaur fossil, had found the first dinosaur fossil many years before, and the bones of more dinosaurs had been unearthed in England since then, in 1853, most people had no idea what a dinosaur looked like. Scientists weren't sure either, for the only fossils were some bits and pieces, a tooth here, a bone there. But they thought that if they studied a fossil and compared it to a living animal, they could fill in the blanks. And so with the help of Richard Owen, who checked every muscle, bone, and spike, that's exactly what Waterhouse was doing. He wanted to create such perfect models that anyone, a crowd of curious children, England's leading scientists, even the Queen herself, could gaze at his dinosaurs and see into the past. Waterhouse threw open the doors to his workshop. Nervously, he tidied up here and there. His assistants came, then Richard Owen. At last, the visitors arrived. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. The Queen's eyes grew wide in surprise. Waterhouse's creatures were extraordinary. How on earth had he made them? He was happy to explain. The Iguanodon, for instance, had teeth that were quite similar to the teeth of an iguana. The Iguanodon, then, must surely have looked like a giant iguana. Waterhouse pointed out that the new Iguanodon bones helped determine the model's size and proportion. And another bone, almost a spike, most likely sat on the nose, like a rhino's horn. Just so for Megalosaurus. Start with its jawbone. Compare it to the anatomy of a lizard, fill in the blanks, and voila, a dinosaur more than 40 feet long. Waterhouse was also making ancient reptiles and amphibians, while Richard Owen could imagine their shapes. It took an artist to bring them to life. Designing the creatures was only the first step. There was still the monumental task of building them. Waterhouse showed his guests the small models that he'd made, correct in every detail. Here. From the scales on the nose to the nails on the toes. With the help of his assistants, he had formed life-size clay figures and created the molds from them. Then he erected iron skeletons, built brick foundations, and covered the whole thing with cement casts from the dinosaur-shaped molds. The mold of the Iguanodon might have actually been what the dinner was held in. We're still not entirely sure. Yeah. It is no less, Waterhouse concluded, than building a house upon 4 columns. So here, step 1, a drawing, and... Nope, come on. Sorry, bumped my keyboard there. Let's get this focused in. Starts with a sketch, moves on to a small model made of clay. A life-size model made of clay. That must have been quite the undertaking. And, you know, a clay model is just going to fall apart. So how do they make it more permanent? Well, first, they build an iron skeleton for it. Must support tons of dinosaur. And then a mold. So they actually made a mold out of that clay model there. And then the finished dinosaur. Bricks, tiles, and broken stones all held together with cement, covered with casts. Casts, you know, from the mold. And painted. There we go. In the weeks to follow, Waterhouse basked in the glow of the Queen's approval. But he would soon face a much tougher set of critics, England's leading scientists. Waterhouse wanted to be accepted into this circle of eminent men. What would they think of his dinosaurs? There was only one way to find out. Waterhouse would show them. But why not do it with a little style? A dinner party. On New Year's Eve, no less. And not just any dinner party. Waterhouse would stage an event that no one would ever forget. And this is true. This story is legendary in the history of dinosaur paleontology to this day. He sketched 21 invitations to the top scientists and supporters of the day, the words inscribed on a drawing of a pterodactyl wing. He pored over menus with the caterer. The Iguanodon mold was hauled outside, a platform was built, a tent erected, and as the hour drew near, the table was elegantly set, and names of famous scientists, the fathers of paleontology, were strung above the tent walls. All was ready. With great anticipation, Waterhouse dressed for the occasion in his finest attire. He was ready to reveal his masterpiece. And there we go, that famous scene. When the guests arrived, they gasped with delight. Waterhouse smiled as he signaled for dinner to begin. With solemn formality, the waiters served course after course from silver platters. Up and down the steps of the platform, they carried the lavish feast, which honestly doesn't sound good to me, but whatever. Rabbit soup, fish, ham, even pigeon pie. For dessert, there were nuts, pastries, pudding, and plums. That does sound good. 2 footmen stayed busy simply pouring the wines. For 8 hours, the men rang in the new year. Because, yeah, shoot, it started at 5 p.m. according to the invitations. They laughed and shouted. They made speech after speech, toasting Waterhouse Hawkins. All the guests agreed. The Iguanodon was a marvelous success. By midnight, they were belting out a song created especially for the occasion. The jolly old beast is not deceased. There is life in him again. And what a beautiful illustration here. Waterhouse Hawkins at the head of the table. All of these eminent men of the day. There's Richard Owen right there. And there's his name. Mantell, Owen, Cuvier, and that and there, that's got to be William Buckland, the discoverer and namer of Megalosaurus. Again, this actually happened 170 years ago on this very evening. Pretty cool. And did they put the song to music that we could recreate today? I'm not sure, Mayor of Space. That's a great question. I didn't have enough time to look this up, because that was one of the things that was on my list to look up before tonight's stream. I did not have time to do that today. Had to give over the keys for my old apartment, make sure everything was all cleaned and packed, and it was a super busy day. So next year, we'll look into that. We'll do a real blowout. The next months passed by in concrete, stone, and iron as Waterhouse put the finishing touches on his dinosaurs. Inside the Iguanodon's lower jaw, he signed the work. B. Hawkins, Builder, 1854. The models were now ready for the grand opening of the Crystal Palace at Sydenham Park. 40,000 spectators attended the regal ceremony. In the sun-filled center court, Waterhouse mingled with scientists and foreign dignitaries. At last, the Queen arrived. The crowd cheered, hurrah. Cannons boomed, music swelled, and a choir of 1,000 voices sang. Waterhouse bowed before the Queen, then she and Prince Albert invited the spectators to enjoy the amazing sights. Waterhouse hurried to the lake and waited for the crowd to arrive. First 2, then 10, then a dozen more. Gasped, shrieked, laughed, and cried. So this was a dinosaur. I love this illustration here. That's brilliant. The English public's first introduction to what a dinosaur was. This was something special. And it brings me so much joy that these are still there to this day. You know? At Charlie's Dragon, you found someone singing the song. Is that right? Well, let's take a look at this. Of course, it's from the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. Well, again, this is from this event here. From the belly of the Iguanodon. Let's listen to the song. Very Victorian. Lyrics by Edward Forbes, 1854. I love that they credit him in this. But good stuff. And that is, of course, from the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs. Not too shabby. Thank you for finding that there, Charlie's Dragon. That is good stuff. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. And, yeah. Anywho, putting that on your playlist, very nice, Rogue Storm. Very nice. Well, let's continue here, shall we? There we go. There we are. Yeah, imagine this. This huge crowd of people being introduced to dinosaurs for the first time. And, the real Naughty Fox, welcome to Paleontologizing. Hey, it's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And Happy New Year's to you. Glad you're here. There we go. Waterhouse was thrilled at the reception to his dinosaurs and other creatures. For in addition to being an artist, he also saw himself as a teacher. He was convinced that the best way for people to learn about something was to see it. With his love of art and teaching, he knew that he could do more. Educational posters, small models that anyone could buy, lectures, books to illustrate. For the next 14 years, Waterhouse did it all. Some of those small models, by the way, are these ones here, which are now available for 3D printing. Welcome to the 21st century. But this is his Megalosaurus. His Iguanodon right here. And for next year, I should probably print the Plesiosaurus and Ichthyosaurus. Yeah. Good stuff. It's so cool to have these. Yeah. News of Waterhouse's success had reached America. In 1868, he traveled to New York City, filling a lecture hall for talks about dinosaurs, evolution, even dragons. As he spoke, he sketched such marvelous illustrations that the audience burst into applause.
A special magnetism for children.
And Piero Giazzi, hey, thank you for the follow.
The moon does exist.
Oh, and George from New York, thank you for the 18 months. I really appreciate that. Huzzah, indeed. Thank you, George, for supporting me for the past 18 months. I really appreciate it. Excellent. And then Waterhouse received a delightful surprise, a letter from the head of Central Park. Well, hang on a minute. What is this? George from New York. Extraordinary. 10 gift subs there. Brilliant. I really appreciate that. Holy cow. Uh-oh. Shoot.
George from New is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Holy cow, George from New York. I really appreciate you. I really do. 10 gift subs. Holy cow. Thank you for keeping me on the air and keeping ads away from 10 more viewers. With that generosity, I really appreciate it. Thank you, George. Holy cow. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Here, let's continue. I want to finish up this book, you know? So, Waterhouse Hawkins receives a letter from the head of Central Park in New York City, inviting him to build American dinosaurs. And Real Naughty Fox, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. His models would inhabit a museum planned for the park's southwest corner. Waterhouse was excited. America's first two dinosaurs, Hadrosaurus and Laelaps, had only recently been discovered. Here was his chance to bring these dinosaurs to life for all to see. And Central Park head, what is that? The person in charge of Central Park, George from New York. Yeah. Do you know this story, George from New York? And that is the head of the Parks Department, I think. Yeah. It was... Oh, shoot. What was his name? Oh, I forget. Again, I didn't have time to prepare for today's stream. It's been a super busy day. But yeah. Anyway, the second age. America. Waterhouse set right to work. He spent the next 6 months traveling to American museums to learn about American dinosaurs. Again, he built something no one had ever seen before, the first model of a complete dinosaur skeleton. This was the first mounted dinosaur skeleton anywhere in the world. So if you've ever seen a dinosaur skeleton mounted in a museum, you should know that that began with Waterhouse Hawkins. There we go. And it looked like this. At the Philadelphia Academy of Natural Sciences. This was the original. And holy cow, did everybody want to come to the museum to see it at the time. It was a phenomenon. It was very, very cool. But did it leap? Oh, Laelaps. Yeah, there you go. Charlie's Dragon. He presented the Hadrosaurus to the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia, where it was welcomed with great enthusiasm. Almost an understatement. The attendance for the museum shot up at the time. It was, again, it was a spectacle. It was a phenomenon. Now Waterhouse is ready to build his dinosaurs. He returned to New York City to the workshop built for him in Central Park. He hired an assistant, and the real work began. Again, like before, small models, life-size clay figures, iron skeletons, dinosaurs. When he and his assistant toiled inside, workmen outside began building the museum. Like the Crystal Palace, the Paleozoic Museum, which it was to be called, would be an enormous structure of iron and glass with a beautiful arched ceiling. Day after day, workmen dug the foundation. Uh-oh. And then this. Then disaster struck. William Boss Tweed, a corrupt politician who controlled much of New York City, said the museum was a waste of money. At 6 feet tall and 300 pounds, Boss Tweed was a big man with an even bigger thirst for power. He reorganized the Parks Department and put his own men in charge. Waterhouse watched in dismay as work on the museum was stopped. He began looking for a new home for his dinosaurs, but he was frustrated that a thieving scoundrel could thwart almost 2 years of work. In March of 1871, Waterhouse gave a speech at the New York Lyceum of Natural History. He stressed the importance of science and art.
1,000 bits can make a wonderful difference in promoting the appreciation
Thank
and
you.
understanding of fossil science here on Twitch.
I appreciate that, Ash Rubber.
May the new year be the best year for teaching people how important dinos are for the understanding of our world.
I appreciate that very much, Ash Rubber. Thank you for that support. That's what keeps me going. Thank you very much for that. So, I mean, like I try to do, I suppose, Waterhouse Hawkins tried to stress the importance of science. And holy cow, George from New York! Look at that.
George from New just changed things with those 5 gift subs.
Thank you very much, George from New York. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you kindly. Good stuff. Good stuff. More subs indeed. Thank you, thank you. Lighten the mood a bit, because what's going to happen next here is pretty dire, actually. So, Waterhouse Hawkins stressed the importance of science and art at these talks before the Lyceum of Natural History in New York. And then he shared the troubles that he'd had with the boss. I trust, however, Waterhouse concluded, that in time the good sense of the people will awaken, and that they will realize the vast importance of this work. The audience agreed. One man called the boss greedy. Another said that the boss was an enemy of mankind. The New York Times printed it all. Waterhouse carried on with his work, but on May 3rd, his dream was shattered. Vandals.
Utah raptor was the most dangerous dinosaur around.
Paleoscience.
Tactical Sponge, thank you for the 37 months of support. I do really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. But on May 3rd, vandals broke into the workshop. Wielding sledgehammers, they smashed the dinosaurs. Then they carted the pieces outside and buried them in the park. Waterhouse arrived to find chaos. Chunks of rubble, mangled wire, plaster shards, and dust. He simply couldn't believe it. Can you imagine? Just devastating. Waterhouse stumbled outside, only to find mounds of dirt and dinosaur rubble. 2 years of his life utterly ruined. This could only be the work of Boss Tweed. The more Waterhouse thought about it, the angrier he became. He protested to the Parks Department. The situation was outrageous, criminal. Surely something could be done.
In that brief moment, we alone are the only species
thank you.
to comprehend and appreciate the great dinosaurs.
Appreciate you, George. Those 18 months of support. Thank you, thank you. But Waterhouse was bluntly told not to waste his time with dead animals when there are so many living ones around. Waterhouse staggered away. His dinosaurs were broken, and so was his spirit. It's not the end of the story. In spite of the boss, Waterhouse would give America her dinosaurs. And holy cow, Jimonwe, thank you for those 5 gift subs there. I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you.
Jamin Y is getting serious with those 5 gift subs.
There's 5 people in the chat who are very happy at just having received a sub. Thank you, Jimon. Appreciate you. Thanks for supporting science here on Twitch. Buying off my guilt for Boss Tweet, George. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. And stuff. Yeah. But in spite of the boss... Whoops, wrong button. There we go. Waterhouse would give America her dinosaurs. He left New York to create a towering hadrosaur skeleton for the Princeton University in New Jersey and the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. He stayed on at Princeton, yet again creating something no one had ever seen before. The first series of paintings showing the development of life on Earth, including his beloved dinosaurs. But Waterhouse was now 71 years old. It was time to go home. Abogado, Happy New Year to you too. How are you doing? It's good to have you here. In the third age, home again. Waterhouse returned to London, and exciting news. 30 Iguanodon skeletons had been discovered in a coal mine in Belgium. It now appeared that Waterhouse's beloved Iguanodon might have walked upright on its hind feet. And the spike on its nose, like a rhino's horn, would actually be a thumb. Imagine that. And it was, as we discussed earlier. Waterhouse settled back into his cottage, Fossil Villa, near the Crystal Palace. And on pleasant afternoons, as he walked the park and his marvelous creations, he wondered. Thank you, Birds Are Dead for the 21 months. Appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. 21
Spiral
months of support.
48
That's a long
Finch
time.
Face.
Thank you, Birds. And, Bat Bass Cactus. Thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Asker Phil sent you? Excellent. It's good to have you here. Yeah. So on pleasant afternoons, as Waterhouse walked to the park and his marvelous creations, he wondered, what other surprises would scientists dig up as they searched the world for dinosaurs? I love this painting here. An elder Waterhouse Hawkins, kind of in the autumn of his life. And a kiddo there, surely inspired by his work, following him. Just as he had hoped, his models were the start of something wonderful, the world's first encounter with these ancient animals. People still come to the Crystal Palace Park in England to see the dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. Really is lovely. You gotta love these illustrations. And Waterhouse was his middle name, Charlie's Dragon. Some people go by their middle names. And while his American dinosaurs no longer stand, somewhere, buried in Central Park, pieces of his dinosaurs remain. I've got some lovely author's notes here in the back. And I really like this illustration at the very end. These could actually really use an update. But Iguanodon then, like you see right here. Iguanodon now. That's really like a 1990s Iguanodon. Megalosaurus then and now. Pterodactyls or pterosaurs then and now. Plesiosaurus. This is now, we know they couldn't actually do this with their neck nowadays, but yeah. So there's that story there. I hope you enjoyed the Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. Again, I like to read this on New Year's Eve because of that raucous celebration that happened 170 years ago on this very evening. Famous dinner in the Iguanodon. What a way to ring in the new year, you know? Pretty cool. Great book. If you've got kiddos or if you're just a fan of short books with excellent illustrations, I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, The Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, I thought it'd be fun to just real quick look at some of those Crystal Palace Park dinosaurs. And show you what our kind of current conception is for what they would have looked like. So here is the Megalosaurus right here. You know, quadrupedal, kind of elephantine looking. You want to see what the animal looked like? Oh, looks like now, according to our current understanding of this group of animals.
Certainly, there are many more dinosaurs waiting to be discovered. Many new mysteries waiting to be pondered.
And thank you, Ksush, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. That's pretty decent right there. A modern picture of Megalosaurus. That's actually really excellent. What else would you expect from PNSO? They make such excellent models. But yeah, Megalosaurus. We still don't have a lot of other material from Megalosaurus. It's still really just a few bones. But we've got close relatives of this animal now, and so we're able to use those to fill in the pieces from dinosaurs like Torvosaurus. We can better illustrate what Megalosaurus would have looked like in life, and that's excellent. That's really, really good, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Early conceptions of dinosaurs always remind me of Gamera and Godzilla enemies. That's interesting, George. Mayor Space says, I sent my nephew a PNSO Ichthyosaurus for Christmas. Oh, super cool. And actually, that... Here. Let's look at, Crystal Palace. Ichthyosaurus. There we go. There's Waterhouse Hawkins' impression of what an Ichthyosaurus would look like. Something that I read in, Mark Whitten's book that was really interesting to me is the idea that, you know, you can actually see the bones in the flipper and then the sclerotic ossicles, the bone in the eye. The idea from Mark Whitten's book is not that this is an error or that Waterhouse Hawkins thought that this is what the animal would look like in life, you know, with like an x-ray view of its eye or its flipper, but rather that it was just that, like an x-ray view. Almost like a gimmick, like you're peering in and seeing the skeleton. That's what the idea was. And maybe this would have been explained on signs or something at the time, I don't know. But that's his conception of an Ichthyosaurus. It's interesting in that it's not got the dorsal fluke, nor has it got the tail fluke either. So now let's look at what we currently think these animals look like. There we go. Yeah, something a lot like this. This is Urinosaurus, I guess, which is a different kind of ichthyosaur. But yeah. Yeah. That's pretty good. Good stuff. What a cool gift to get for your nephew, too, Mayorspace. That's really neat. That's really neat. So let's find Ichthyosaurus proper. And yeah, it would look something like this. You know, almost like a dolphin. You know? It's pretty good right there. Very dolphin-like in this illustration. Nice. And they would have been speedy, Red Bulwark. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. You're collecting all the Schleich dinosaur models. Oh, cool, George. Very nice. Yeah. All right, let's look at the Crystal Palace Iguanodon. There are two. That's the only double up of the dinosaurs in the geological court. These two Iguanodon right here. Nowadays, you know, these are very much, well, they would have looked a lot different. Our modern perception of Iguanodon, again, we can go to PNSO for an up-to-date reconstruction. It's about like this. Probably still quadrupedal most of the time. But, more kind of graceful animal. Less elephantine, but still powerful. That really formidable thumb-spike, too. We've got much better fossil remains from this animal nowadays, much more complete. So we can say, with reasonable certainty, it would look a lot like this. And then last for our dinosaurs, a dinosaur that's, well, the most easily forgotten one, Hylaeosaurus. Right here. They knew it had some sort of spiky thing going on there, which is why those spines are really emphasized in the model. But this was an armored dinosaur. A polycanthine, if I remember correctly. Would have looked something like this. Those spines. That's lovely, actually. Kind of showing you the Victorian conception of this animal and a more up-to-date one. So yeah. It is kind of amazing what they got right at the time. They recognized basic facts like, this is a plant-eating animal, it's covered with armor, it's got these long spines. They did the best they could with very, very limited skeletal material. Pretty neat. You love some Crystal Palace dinosaurs in your backyard, Ash Rubber? Yeah, me too. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway. Before we wrap up here, let's just watch this one clip one more time as a way to ring in the new year. Especially for those of you who just showed up. Let's bring it all home. And it would help if I turn on the sound, wouldn't it?
Show off these creatures.
Here.
Rhinoceroses living today. Richard Owen was a...
The way Mantell did together to form a unique grind tree of life.
Here we go. Yep. Shoot, this is what I was looking for earlier. But here we go. And hello, sweetie pie. Do you want to come up here? Come here, sweetie. There she is. Hello, sweetie pie. How are you doing? Good stuff. How are you doing? Oh, Happy New Year to you, sweetie pie. Here, let's get ready for your close-up. There we go. Hey, sweetie pie. Yeah. Look at you. Yeah, let me get you a treat. Ooh. I think we have one more of these left, and that's it. Let's get that out for you here. Here you go. Yeah. That's it. All gone. Gonna have to get some more cat treats. Well, shoot, there's some on the wish list if anybody would like to spring for those. Yeah. Your cat knows the word greenies, SV Harkin? Yeah, feline greenies. They're excellent, huh, sweetie pie? And they're good for your teeth. Yeah, dental cat treats. Good stuff. Good stuff. That's it. That's it. They're all gone. We gotta get you some more. Yeah. Good stuff. Happy New Year, sweetie pie. Yeah. And I need like a special cat cam scene where I like rotate the camera. Anyway, good stuff. Anyway, let's get back to this.
A year after Buckland named his tooth, a second vital clue was made public. A young country doctor, so the story goes, was making a house call. His wife came with him. While Dr. Gideon Mantell attended his patient, his wife Mary stumbled upon a second gigantic tooth. But this tooth, unlike Buckland's, was not the tooth of a killer, but that of an enormous plant eater.
A tooth like this was found first by Gideon Mantell's wife, the first clue of a giant plant-eating dinosaur. Now, what Mantell did, he looked at the tooth. It was lizard-like in form, but it had this grinding surface. Here was an extinct animal that ground its food like an ox, he said. These weren't merely giant lizards. They were doing something that no lizard does today. They're grinding their food, which implies a much higher level of metabolism, much higher lifestyle.
Buckland had found the saber-like tooth of a monstrous killer.
That's right. Well, shoot, you can't see, but here for you. There we go. Oh, look at that, sweetie pie. Yeah, look at that. The lower jaw of Megalosaurus. There's my 3D print. I haven't painted it yet, still. But yeah, check that out. Isn't that cool? Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. It's not for you to eat. And you're lucky this animal isn't around today. It might try and eat you. Oh, does that feel good on your snout? Yeah. Oh. Good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, there's an actor portraying William Buckland, a discoverer and namer of Megalosaurus there, with that same jaw.
Mantell's tooth, an entirely different shape, was clearly the tooth of a giant plant eater. Like Buckland, he had no idea what animal it was. Its long snout boasted
If you're feeling a bit
200
cheated,
chisel-
try blaming the dinosaurs.
Happy New Year all. Happy New Year, Danny.
Thank you, Dr. Irrefutable, and thank you for those 100 bits. Holy cow.
edged teeth
thank you.
packed closely together to form a unique grinding surface, capable of reducing the toughest leaves and twigs to a pulp. At 33 feet long and 2 tons in weight, it browsed the woodlands like a giant antelope. The Mantells searched further. Obsessed by their find, Mantell and his wife, like all good detectives, looked for more clues. Their patience was soon rewarded.
And it was Mantell's genius that he could take small fragments, and he had bits of heads and bits of feet and whatnot, and give a sculptor the idea of a gigantic 4 or 5 ton animal that combined the features of a lizard with an elephant, with a rhinoceros, with a bird. It was a chimera. It was a wonderful mix-up series of characteristics.
What are you doing, sweetie? Yeah. Oh, don't lick that. I got a cut on my hand. Oh. These treats are good, huh? Yeah. Let's continue.
Characteristics.
The way Mantell did that was brilliantly simple. He looked for a living equivalent. What animal had a tooth similar to this find?
Yep. Good answer, Dave.
The plant-eating iguana had, on a smaller scale, teeth the same shape as his huge reptile. Mantell, with a few teeth and bones to go on, and the iguana as a guide, gave the world its first picture of a dinosaur. Getting the bones to fit this living model was not easy. He named it Iguanodon, iguana tooth. This was no ordinary lizard. There had to be more to the story.
Buckland and Mantell concentrated on the teeth. That gave them a clue to these animals being giant fossil reptiles. What they hadn't really recognized was that in addition to the teeth were other bones, and the bones had some very distinctive characteristics. And what it took was somebody else to look at these specimens with fresh eyes. And that person was Richard Owen.
In 1841, Britain's leading scientist, Professor Richard Owen, put both monster teeth on the map. With a pinch of cunning and an eye to personal publicity, Owen, observing the anatomy of the large mammals of our day, concluded that the fossil teeth must have belonged to a whole group of giants, now extinct.
Richard Owen was a very competent comparative anatomist, very eminent in his field, and he reviewed all the fossil reptiles known in Britain at the time. And he said, yes, these are clearly giant fossil reptiles, but there's something very special about them. And that special thing is that they can walk around with their legs held directly beneath the body, not sprawled to the side as in a
We were talking about that upright posture.
They're in fact much more like elephants and rhinoceroses living today. And he saw them as the zenith of reptilian evolution.
At a scientific meeting in Plymouth, he named them Dinosaurs, the terrible lizards.
That brought with it a certain amount of acclaim, but there was a problem.
Ragnarocker.
He was describing a concept.
I don't think elephants like to be plopped anywhere.
The bones very clearly, but
that would
there
probably
wasn't
hurt.
a tangible, complete dinosaur to show off these creatures.
There we go. And there you go, George from New York. Yeah, they didn't have the biggest budget for this, so the puppets that they have were impressive, I think, for what it is.
Owen hired the leading sculptor of the day, Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, to bring dinosaurs to life. From the fragmentary evidence, Hawkins built models that thrilled Victorian England. They were destined.
And that was a little Lystrosaurus Birgidon, yeah. Yeah, with the tusks. Yes, indeed, I believe it was supposed to be Lystrosaurus. Talking about this guy right here? Yeah. Here, let's see. Is it Lystrosaurus or was it a different Dicynodont? Yeah. Yeah, who are those supposed to be? Shoot. Dicynodon. Sorry, Dicynodon. So a different kind of Dicynodont. Yeah. go. There we go. If you'd like to read more about that, the Friends of the Crystal Palace Dinosaurs have got a lovely video for you here. Yeah. Or video. Webpage. Sorry. I need to wrap up this stream. Anyway. Sharp eyes there, Birds of Didon. Yeah. Nice.
Victorian England.
And bye to you too, Alexander.
Destined for Crystal Palace
Happy New Year.
in London. It was the first dinosaur
Welcome,
theme
Trooper.
park ever built, and it still attracts the public today. Ever the publicist, Owen celebrated the achievement by hosting the most bizarre dinner party ever held. On New Year's Eve, 1854, he invited the leading scientists of the day to wine and dine in the belly of Hawkins' still unfinished model of Iguanodon.
There we go. Happy New Year, everyone. It's happened 170 years ago to this very day.
The world's most eminent scholars could now picture prehistory in all its terrifying glory.
Awesome. Yeah. And with that, I would like to wish everyone here a very, very happy New Year. I've had a wonderful year. I hope you have too. At least when you've been here with me. Really looking forward to next year and looking forward to tomorrow's stream. With any luck, if I'm able to get some stuff together, if I'm not too busy and can make the proper preparations, we're going to be counting down the most exciting and important new dinosaur discoveries of the year 2023 on tomorrow's stream. So join me for a special New Year's Day stream tomorrow, if I'm able to get everything together by then. Thank you for a wonderful stream tonight, everybody. And don't go away. We are going to go right into somebody else, hopefully doing some science on Twitch. So let's see who we can find. And let's roll our credits here. Oop. You know what? No, let's do that again. Where was that? More Auld Lang Syne. Very appropriate. Anyway, let's see who else is on right now. Science Streams is on. Let's go raid Science Streams. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you to everybody who has helped us almost triple our sub goal for the day. More than double it. Everybody who seems to be showing up here in the credits right now. Followers and raiders, cheerers and gifters, subscribers and moderators, and you chatters, question askers, and lurkers too. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for making this stream an excellent one. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next year, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.